ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz, and on today's episode, in the news, Netflix suspends services in Russia, and 2 new movie projects were announced this week. No trailer talk. The new to streaming list is light, but, ladies and gentlemen, Drive to Survive Season 4 is coming this week. Get excited for that. What we're watching this week, of course, will be after the new to streaming list, and then our main review for the episode, The Batman. Wow, I've waited a long time to say that. But before we get to any of that, I'm joined today, of course, by nightclub clubbing Nathaniel Gingrich.
What up, folks? I'm nightclub clubbing Nathaniel Gingrich.
Do you go clubbing a lot at the nightclubs?
I do, yeah, and I mean that both in the physical way and the act of clubbing. You know, I go out, I dance, obviously. And then occasionally, you know, if a fight
club people over the head.
Yeah, if a fight breaks out, I just kind of take it on myself to just crack him over the back of the head with my my trusty club.
You carry that with you every time?
Oh yeah. It's not small. It's a baseball bat.
It's okay. Just make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah, I have it on a strap that I just keep it on my back. You know,
smart.
And then I just kind of sling it over.
Yeah, it's also a great conversation starters when you go up to a girl. It's just like, or maybe a girl comes up to you like, "Why do you have a giant ass club?"
Well, they often say, "Are you the Batman?" And I'm like, "No, I'm nightclub Nathaniel, nightclub clubbing Nathaniel." Obviously,
yeah.
It's very confusing, bit of a branding issue, but you know,
we can work around it. What was that in Hawkeye? I think it's all about the costume, right? We'll just have to work.
Yeah. See, obviously.
Yep. All right, we'll get on it. Also joining us today. It's to the Batman, Tyler Vidalis.
Hey.
Oh, hey, man.
Not a lot of letter writing nowadays.
No, definitely not.
Physical mail is limited to like stupid promotional things and stupid like.
I was trying to refinance my student loans.
Don't get a lot in the mail these days.
Do you want a lot of mail? Do you like getting mail?
No. I actually, you know what? It's kind of exciting sometimes when you get a letter that like you don't know what it is.
Sure.
Like it just shows up.
I think I'd rather have traditional mail than email at this point.
Yeah, true. My emails are backed up. I check them, but I just don't clear them out. So I see all the important things.
There's just so much more
I get
stressful.
so much spam. It just takes forever to go by and delete or organize it. So eventually I'll get around to clearing out the probably like 6,000 emails I have across all 4 of my emails.
Ty, since this is like a puzzler themed episode or a Riddler themed episode, and you are to the Batman, Ty, taking on that title. Have you ever done a scavenger hunt or some sort of riddle based quest?
Huh. Oh yeah, there, bud.
Would you say you're good at riddles? That's a much better better topic than that random scavenger hunt question I just said right there. But
I
okay,
think so. I think I have a creative / critical thinking enough mind to be able to put most riddles together.
Gotcha.
Love riddles.
I wouldn't say I can't guarantee you but I'd probably say I'd get a C+ on a test maybe.
You take a crack at it. Is that born from your love of The Hobbit? Obviously, riddles feature heavily in a key moment there.
I guess kinda. When I was a kid, I had like a fascination with Loki and just kind of being like a trickster and stuff like that.
Okay.
So, being the middle child, you strive for attention and you just don't get it ever. And I'm okay with that. But it's something that you learn to grow with. So I like being a little mischievous, and so yeah, riddles are cool.
I was thinking about writing you guys a riddle for this episode, and then I forgot. So I apologize. Maybe I'll just do it
how
next episode.
Un-Batman-like of you.
Right, right. Speaking of Batman, also joining us and rounding out the squadron, it's Big Bat BlakeHolder.
Hey, what up? What up?
How you doing, Blake? All the way from
Good, bro.
Mexicali, is that what you said it was called?
Yes.
Back Row
Mexicali,
International.
California.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little
He's
bit.
scoping out our
on the
scoping out our
border.
Mexico branch. Yeah. We're expanding.
Yeah.
Our Southern California branch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Baja Coast, we'll say.
Yeah. I do
Yeah.
actually have a
I'm not,
fun
I'm not
bat
gonna
story.
lie, man.
Oh, go ahead, Blake.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, this delay might be worse than usual today.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'll say my story for after you're done.
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm kind of upset I didn't just get the Batman Blake. That's what I was hoping I was gonna get today.
Were
But
you?
yeah,
I
it's
can
all
redo it.
good.
Big Batman Blake. We can do that one.
There we go.
You could
Yeah,
borrow my
yeah.
bat.
What were you gonna
I just didn't want to reveal your secret identity. That's all it was. I was being
say?
careful.
Yeah, that's also one of my favorite things about the Batman movies is just knowing that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Like, I can't not watch these films and think like, how did no civilians just think like, oh yeah, the rich billionaire is this guy? You know
You
what I mean?
think
Like, I just watch that. I'm like, this is definitely fucking Jeff Bezos. Like,
you
but
think that?
that's
Yeah,
me.
you think that, but like and that's the thing with Superman always, right? Like he doesn't even wear a mask. Like he just puts glasses on. But if you're not looking for it, people are not going to see it. I think there was like some psychological study I remember reading one time where it's just like it was kind of
Mhm.
on that subject of like if people are not looking for you in a certain situation, they're not ever going to see it. Like it's just small differences
Sure.
like that.
Yeah.
It's just hard to discern.
Mhm.
What I was gonna say, I do have a fun little bat story for the episode. I get home. I saw the movie on Friday, so I wish this happened Friday night because it would have been more fitting. But saw the movie on Friday, had a great time. We'll get to that later. Saturday night, my fraternity's having bit of a more of a formal affair where you're supposed to kind of dress up a little bit. And so I'm walking down to my basement to put some pants in the dryer, hopefully get some wrinkles out. You know, I'm not trying to show up looking like a slob. I like to present myself.
Fair.
And I get to the bottom of the steps, and there's like one light in my basement, and then we have like some LED strips. So it was just like the one light that's at the bottom of the steps. And as I get to the bottom of the steps, I turn and I hear something to my left. I turn and see a bat fly from the left side of my basement about 4 feet in front of my face and then go into the darkness of the right side of my basement. And I don't even know if it landed or not. I was already back at the top of the stairs. Yeah, there was a lot of obscenities that I will not repeat on podcast. But I ran to the top of the stairs. Shut the door. We keep that door open usually because it doesn't have a
For the bats.
traditional.
You leave it open for the bats when they want to come and visit. Yeah.
Yeah. We keep that door open usually because it doesn't have like a doorknob and like a latch or anything like that. The way you have to close it is like there is a doorknob, but it doesn't close that way. There's like a little hook on the door frame, and there's a hook at the top of the door that you have to put in there because it's an old house and stuff like that happens. So we usually just keep that open. And so there was a bat in our basement with the door open for God knows how long. And that's the scariest part about it to me is they could have just flown up at any point, and we would have been a very more immediate issue. As far as I know, or that was Saturday night. We're currently recording Tuesday night. Our landlord called him immediately. He was supposed to come Sunday morning, never came. Called him Sunday afternoon. Oh, I forgot. I'll be there tomorrow morning. Monday morning comes around. Hey, I got called out of town. I'll try to come tonight. If not tonight, I'll come tomorrow morning. Never came. Text from him this morning. I'll be there this afternoon. He was supposed to come around 6. I wasn't home at 6. I don't know if he came or not, to be honest. I haven't talked to my roommates about it. So as far as I know, the bat could still be in my basement. Haven't done my laundry. Showed up to the party. Pants a little wrinkled. I was a little disappointed. But, there were more pressing matters to
For sure.
preventing me from de-wrinkling my pants.
Have you considered that your landlord is, in fact, Batman?
Bruce Wayne.
I've
Yeah,
not.
that's not.
I've not, but now that I'm looking for it, I will try to see it if I can find a
he
connection.
sounds pretty busy.
Now that I'm cognizant of it.
Yeah.
No. There's actually a much more likely chance that my landlord's just an asshole. That's
True.
more likely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's pretty much.
You don't know though until you see him in the bat in the same exact place.
Yeah, and
You'll never know.
he seems fairly
yeah.
unconcerned about the bat. It could be a friend of his. Could be one of his spies. Have you guys thought about that too? He could be in communication with this bat, or it could have a little bat cam on him. Thoughts?
I feel like my thoughts are I feel like if you wanted to spy on us, there are much better ways to do so than putting a camera in a bat. But you never know.
Actually, not, dude. If I could jump in on this on that zoo tier list, I was telling you guys I watched.
Yeah.
So he did one on bats, and I told you he kind of breaks everything down like in video game terms and things. If the world was the Matrix, and he basically mentioned that like bats using like sonar is like one of the most OP things in the meta. So he might be onto something. Because bats are pretty strong. So
it could be. But yeah, that was fun. That was fun. Still haven't done my laundry. Don't know when I'll be able to. It's piled up. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's a giant pile right behind me. And audio listeners definitely can't see it. But what you guys can see are the headlines in the description for the news this week. Let's get into it, guys. First news story of the week is a bit of a follow-up from last week, and I guess kind of the week before that, if you want to go there. Netflix has suspended service in Russia amid ongoing invasion of Ukraine. So as we talked about last week, it was Universal, Warner Bros., and Paramount, or Paramount Universal, kind of the same thing. I forgot the third one. There's like 3 studios basically pulling their Hollywood releases from Russia, no longer airing their movies in Russia. And now Netflix has followed suit, saying if you're in Russia, you can't stream Netflix.
No entertainment.
Essentially. Yeah. Which is honestly a little bit bigger of a deal than the movies getting pulled from theaters. I feel like more people are gonna be watching Netflix than going to theaters generally. And I was even thinking about it after we recorded last week, and I feel like we were a little dismissive of that action, saying like, "Oh, what's this gonna do?" I mean, when you think about it, yes, those economic sanctions that are going on are definitely going to be kind of a more pressing matter, at least for especially for the government, and then trickle down to the citizens. But if you're trying to cause a little bit of unrest amongst the Russian people to try to kind of force them to protest a little bit more, maybe speak out a little bit more against it, keep putting sanctions on movies like this, and then services like Netflix, like that's eventually going to have maybe a small. It could be small, but that is something that is going to affect the Russian citizens directly. So the ones that maybe aren't as concerned about taking back Ukraine are going to be like, hey, what the hell? I want to see the Batman. Heard it's really good. Or I want to watch my Netflix. There's a lot of good things on there. Hopefully there's good things on there in Russia. I don't know so much about the US, but you know, it's not nothing. I kind of came around to it. You know, I feel like these small actions, while it might seem like it's like, oh, okay, maybe they're just trying to stand in uniformity, I do think it could have some effect.
Yeah, I guess my question would be, you know, in a place in which so much of the media consumption is government run, it seems, is this at the end of the day that good of an idea? To like maybe it could be better served just pushing some other content through the Netflix portal, maybe, you know.
I feel like I think they're already filtering Netflix.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. That's a good point too. Yeah.
If I had to guess, they're probably already filtering what's on Netflix.
It's
I was
definitely.
gonna say if it's controlled as we think it is, there's no way they're gonna let stuff like that slip through.
It's definitely an inconvenience for sure. And you know, whatever you got to do to make some noise.
Russia already blocked Facebook. And then looks like TikTok has also suspended services in Russia too. So, like I said, while you might expect bigger economic sanctions or bigger actions from Western countries to be the things that could affect the Russian government the most, these smaller actions that affect Russian citizens directly could have a secondary effect on them and their feelings towards the war. Because if they're just getting inconvenienced for something they don't see as beneficial, they're going to have a stronger opinion against it, hopefully.
Yeah.
But who knows? That Russian propaganda campaign seems to be still chugging along better than we'd hoped. So, all right. Well, moving on here to our next news story. Like I said earlier, we do have 2 new project announcements. I'll get to the one that I think most of the squadron will probably be a little bit more excited for. A new Alien movie in the works with Don't Breathe filmmaker. Is it Fede Alvarez?
Yes.
Yes. So Alvarez, the story goes apparently like this. Alvarez is a huge fan of Alien. Met Ridley Scott, who of course created the franchise. When I don't know when it says it was, but he met him a few years back, and they started talking. And Alvarez kind of just pitched this idea to him that he had for an Alien movie. Ridley Scott was like, "Cool." And then I guess like recently, Ridley Scott went back to him and said, "Hey, are you still interested in doing this?" And just took it immediately because it's one of his favorite franchises. It's his idea. And so this whole project is basically Alvarez run. It's not going to be anything that Ridley Scott's thinking up, which I think is very interesting. Now, Alvarez has done Don't Breathe and the 2013 Evil Dead remake, which you guys, Nathaniel and Blake, I know speak very highly of, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, Don't Breathe
Yeah,
good as well. I haven't seen that one.
Don't Breathe is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like it as much as Evil Dead 2013, but yeah,
Sure.
it's still good. Certainly better than the second one.
And then, of course, I think all 3 of you guys are big Alien fans. Does this excite you guys? I mean, especially considering what Ridley Scott has done with the sequels in this franchise hasn't been as good recently. Well, I guess that was Predator. I'm thinking of more. Well, when was the last Alien movie released? Then? Would it been Prometheus?
Alien Covenant,
2017.
That's right, Covenant. Yeah,
which was Ridley Scott.
yes,
Yeah, I
yes,
don't know
yes.
what continuity this will be in, or if it'll be like a spin-off or what. Fede Alvarez definitely has the horror chops. If they decide to make it more kind of insular or smaller story in scope. He does tension very well, does dread very well, does gore very well. All very interesting ideas for Alien when you think about, the face huggers and particularly all that good stuff. His craft of story isn't always my favorite, but I would hope maybe, he gets a good writer on this or something. But yeah, I'll be excited for this. I'll definitely watch the trailer and kind of, take my opinions off that, but I think this could be a pretty solid pick for them. I've just I think been burned by the Alien franchise quite often at this point, and we'll be in a wait and see pattern.
As someone who hasn't really,
Yeah.
all right, you go ahead, Blake. Sorry, this delay is going to
I was
kill
gonna
us.
say,
this
I mean,
episode.
no worries. My apologies.
Oh,
I
you're good.
pretty much agree with Nathaniel. I mean, I probably will watch the film just because it's part of the Alien franchise, but it's not necessarily something I'm jumping out of my seat of like, hey, I'm waiting on this, So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm more curious if he's gonna have what's her name? Because she's in Evil Dead 2013 and Don't Breathe. Jane, help me, Jane. She plays Mia in Evil Dead, and she plays the
what
main
is her
character
name?
in Don't Breathe.
I
Is it Jane?
I
Jane
could look it up really
Levi?
quick.
Jane Levy?
Yes, I think you're right. You're right. I kept
Jane
wanting to
Levy.
say.
It's something with an L.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is Jane Levy.
I kept wanting to
I
say.
don't know
Yeah,
how
it'll
you
be
pronounce
interesting to see if
exactly,
she's
but-
in there.
I hope so. She's great. And I keep
Yeah.
waiting for her to have like a big breakout role. I thought it was going to be the Evil Dead starter, but yeah, I think she's a really great actress. Commits very much to the role, so hopefully that'd be cool to see.
Definitely would be.
I feel
What were
like
you gonna say, Adam?
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Oh, I just said that it definitely will be.
But you had a thought before Blake as well. You said as someone who hasn't seen much of the Alien franchise. Okay, never mind. I'll be if I put.
That's right. As someone sorry, I apologize. I thought you were talking to Blake, and then I was watching. I have the Dark Knight on the TV over there, and I was watching that for a sec. Because Joker just walked into the gang meeting. It's a very intense scene. Anyway, Yeah, as someone who hasn't, I've seen like a little bit of the first one. I haven't really seen anything else. Like not even the first one all the way through. The fact that what I know of Alien and the fact that Ridley Scott hasn't taken this in a direction a lot of people have been pleased with recently, besides Prometheus. The fact that it was just like a different director who's like, oh, hey, I have a cool idea, and Ridley Scott's just letting him do it. Because Ridley Scott will be produced, by the way. And he's just like, oh, that sounds like a great idea, go for it. That does excite me. I mean, if I created something that's like, hey, what if this happened in something like you created? That's a very exciting thing to be presented with. And I think it takes a lot for, if it was something I created, it would take a lot for me to just give creative freedom to that universe to someone else.
Yeah, I mean, Alvarez did the second Girl with the Dragon Tattoo film, American version as well, too, which I did not like as much, but has good visuals. So, we'll see. I definitely, like, if I think between this or that, like, Predator TV series that's going to Hulu that's going to be in the Old West, like, I would probably be just, like, from what I've heard so far, more excited for that one, but we'll see.
For sure. And then our last news story of the week and second project announcement is a sequel to I Am Legend with Michael B. Jordan. And
starring
Will Smith, I guess, is set to return. I haven't seen this movie. I do know the fate of his character, so I don't know how he's going to be involved again. That's not really explained. But we're getting a sequel, which is interesting because it was based on a book which doesn't have a sequel.
Yeah.
So maybe they're doing it off of some kind of spinoff, or maybe they're just doing it off of source material that's within the within the novel. I don't know.
I would love a faithful recreation of the short story or the novella, whatever it is. It's one of my all-time favorite stories, which was not really accurately captured in the Will Smith movie, but
That's what I've heard a lot. When I've seen comparisons between the two, I have heard it's not super faithful to the source material.
Yeah, it's just a different message. The story culminates in a third act reveal that really is a great corkscrew twist, as I would frame it. And really plays into a deeper message in the story itself. And they really kind of, I think, neutered that with the movie. Though the movie itself, as a movie, has some really cool parts. We use it at the store a lot. But Tyler, you're a pretty big fan of it, right?
Yeah, I like I Am Legend. I'll be excited to kind of see where this goes.
Yeah. Because I know it was really well received when it came out. Did it get some Oscar noms?
I don't
feel
think
like it got some
so.
attention. No? Okay. But regardless, it is Will Smith's second biggest movie ever, and I think his biggest opening weekend. Yeah, that's what the story was saying here.
I would
I
not
can
have
see
picked
that.
that.
So, yeah. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what this turns into. And also, Michael B. Jordan, there's that too. We kind of glossed over a little bit. We love him. He's awesome. So I'm down to watch anything he's into. All right. Well, I think that'll be it for the news here, guys. No trailer talk this week, like I said. So that means we can get into Adam Schwartz's completely subjective new to streaming list for the week of March 6th through the 12th. Coming to Netflix, we have another documentary series called The Andy Warhol Diaries. It's a limited series, and it covers the life and work of Andy Warhol, and it's produced by Ryan Murphy. Andy Warhol, I feel like a lot of people probably have heard of him, but aren't necessarily super familiar. He's kind of like an avant-garde artist. He did a lot of graphic design stuff, but then also kind of moved into avant-garde film and kind of started that. And his influences, whether you've seen his film work or not, from what I understand, his influence was pretty profound in the long run on filmmaking. So this is one that I saw. Of course, it's the subjective list and was kind of interested in, especially since I've been watching a decent amount of documentaries lately, kind of scrolling through, seeing what Netflix has or whatnot. But yeah, if you're interested in that, you can check that out. And then, of course, the big one, Drive to Survive, Season 4.
The big one.
Coming this Friday, March 11th. I am so excited. I'm so excited. I'm assuming Nathaniel and Ty, you guys are. Well, Ty's AFK, but Nathaniel, I'm assuming you're excited.
Yeah, I am. I definitely am. Last season being the first one that I followed, live as well too. It'll be very interesting to see kind of what parts are picked up into the storyline. Evidently, I think Formula One and Drive to Survive has created so many Formula One fans at this point now too. It'll be very interesting to see. From a production standpoint, maybe how things change from season to season as well too. But yeah, excited for that. Excited to have it on Netflix. I'd be interested, at this point, if like Netflix broke character and did like a week to week drop with something like a Drive to Survive, how that would do or something, But yeah. I'll be definitely in. Blake, have you any thoughts or any leanings towards maybe giving Drive to Survive a go at this point?
Do it.
Truthfully, probably not.
No. Okay, fair enough.
No, I don't think so. But I hear you guys
think
talk
like
it
it,
up.
Blake. You like sports, man, and it's like it's not your traditional sport, but it is got all the same qualities that you love. My favorite part about it still probably, well, not my absolute favorite, but one of my favorite things about it is that you still only have 10 teams and 20 drivers. And like no other sport at that level is like that, where you can just kind of identify and know and track the storyline of almost everybody in, say, the league or of Formula One. You can track everybody's story and their progression and their progress and performance through the entire season. It's not that hard to keep up with 20 drivers, whereas almost every single other sport, besides tennis probably, but tennis is hard because there's hundreds of players, but you can track probably the top players. But like you can just track everybody's story throughout a season, and that's I think is part of what makes this show so special, is that it's like they're able to tell such great stories because it's just such a small scale. There's not a ton of action going on across multiple, conferences, leagues, divisions, whatever it is. There's not dozens of people on a team. There's not hundreds of people in the league. It's 20 drivers in 10 teams. So it's pretty cool. That's one of my favorite aspects by far still.
Yeah, and then obviously this is the big.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Blake.
I was going to say real quick. I mean, I'm aware of you guys always speaking about it. There's 2 podcasts I listen to regularly. And it's both of them are 2 sets of players who play the NFL, but they talk about it as like stuff they're interested in, everything they watch all the time. So it's definitely got a fan base, and obviously people who are into sports are usually into that. I don't know how I really feel about racing, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll see, right?
I was not
What were you
into
gonna say,
racing at
Nathaniel?
all before I started watching the show, Blake, and now I'm watching every
Mhm.
race every Sunday during
You're
the
sold.
season. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I know it's so many other people like that, at least on Twitter and stuff like that, or other
Mhm.
even people I know personally who I've recommended the show to or I've talked to the show about the same situation. Couldn't give an F about racing beforehand, and now they're huge fans or they're watching every Sunday.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that this will obviously be a big season too, because there was a big champion change last season as well too. So I'll be very interested in how that is played out.
I agree.
well, too.
I'm interested to see how they tell that story. And I was talking to Noah, my roommate, Noah number 2, about it when we were driving to go see the Batman, and we were talking about it. And I would love, like, I don't think this is how they're gonna do it, but I would love if they just like don't mention the championship race between Verstappen and Hamilton until like the last 3 episodes, 2 or 3 episodes, and then they go from the start of the season, the beginning of the season, or to the end of the season, they just tell that entire story over like 2 or 3 episodes. So you just have one complete arc of it. But I doubt they'll do that. But I think that'd be really fun and unique to kind of just ignore it, hint at it maybe, and then you just get 3 episodes that is straight Verstappen and Hamilton all the way through. That'd be fun for me, but again, I don't think they'll do that. We'll see. Tyler, now that you're back, we were talking about Drive to Survive Season 4. Any thoughts? Excitement levels?
Hi.
Welcome back.
No, I meant like my expectations are high.
Okay.
My excitement is high.
Good.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's going to play into this that it hasn't previously played into is the fact that I have watched this season throughout, whereas the other ones I hadn't really ever watched a single race in its entirety up until this season. So it was a little bit more thrilling not knowing the outcome. So I think knowing the outcome of this season might play a little bit into that, but I obviously still have a very high appreciation level for what goes into Drive to Survive. And that's obviously, got so much of it to get me back into the sport that I'm still pretty excited to see their point of view from it, I guess.
Yeah, that was something we talked about, or Nathaniel brought up too, and it's the same situation for me where I caught about. I mean, I started watching the show when the last race season started, and so by the time I finished the show, it was like July. So I caught like about 2/3 of the season, I would say, maybe about half. And I'm still super invested. Like I'm still very excited, and I'm excited to see, like Nathaniel said earlier, like how they decide to tell the story, knowing the outcomes, and then kind of also, like you said, Tyler, getting more behind the scenes kind of footage of where everybody was at after each race and stuff like that. Very exciting stuff for me. So
Yeah.
my excitement levels are still very high. All right. Also coming to Netflix, Dunkirk. So if you know,
Papa Schwartz favorite.
Papa Schwartz favorite. Yep.
Papa Schwartz approved.
I was gonna say, yeah, break out a new
that
stamp.
stamp on there, baby. Yeah. So I mean, maybe if you're not interested to Drive to Survive, you do have a Nolan film to check out. That's it for Netflix. Nothing coming to Amazon or Hulu. HBO Max is getting Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. This is essentially Magic Johnson and the Lakers version of The Last Dance that's coming to HBO Max instead of Netflix. That is what I got from this, which I might check out because, like I said, been kind of back into documentaries more and love The Last Dance. Last Dance, number 1. Drive to Survive, number 2, as far as like my favorite documentary series, probably.
Wow.
Yeah, high praise, but I feel like it's deserved. So yeah, I'll probably check this out. If you're interested, you can do so as well. And then coming back to HBO Max is Dune. I feel like it came already once after the release date. I don't know when it left, but it's coming back. Or maybe it's just a renewal of something. I don't know. But that's there. That's it for HBO Max. And then Disney Plus is getting Turning Red, the new Pixar film. So no, what is it? Premiere Access, I think is what they call it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It is just straight streaming. And then you also get Embrace the Panda making Turning Red, a feature documentary about the all-women team at the helm of Pixar's original feature, Turning Red, with behind-the-scenes access to director Domi Shi and her core leadership crew. This story shines a light on the powerful professional and personal journeys that brought this incredibly comical, utterly relatable, and deeply heartfelt story to the screen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I hear the title.
Seen that?
I hear the title "Embrace the Panda," and I think it's like a wrestling documentary or something.
Very well could be. Very well could be. Has anyone seen this yet? I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I think when it came into Premiere Access, potentially.
I don't think it got a Premiere Access thing. Wasn't that the thing that it was like another Pixar movie that was not.
That's what it was. I think we talked about it in news.
Any sort of kind of real push from Disney or anything like that.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure I'll. Well, I said I'd check out Luca too, and I haven't watched that yet either too. So I've been off my Pixar.
Maybe do a double feature.
Could be.
Luca's great.
Yeah. So I definitely would want to check this out. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for the new to streaming list. What we're watching time, guys. What have you guys been watching this week? I'll kick it off with Nathaniel Gingrich.
What up, folks? I'm still out here, still clubbing. What did I get to this week? I got to Genius episode 3.
Yes.
Got to finish that off, and I'd say I definitely felt like the documentary went in descending order of kind of my interest overall. Very much held it at the start.
I knew you were gonna say that based on your comment about the filmmaker Cootie including himself so much in it.
Yeah,
Because he includes himself a lot in that third episode.
Yeah, the third episode was interesting. Definitely felt like I do feel like I understand Kanye better and kind of his worldview and kind of his process and how he thinks. So that was eye opening in some ways, but yeah, as an overall feature, it just kind of lost a little steam for me at the end. But we may talk about more of that later. Demon Slayer season 2 been back on that.
I need to get to that.
Yeah, that's been really, really fun. They're in what's called the entertainment district now, so it's kind of like their Vegas a little bit too, and he's kind of working with a new mentor as well, and his kind of typical crews there. And yeah, it's really been interesting so far. It's been fun. I watched Batman 89, the 89 version of it the other night before kind of drifting off.
Cool.
Yeah, that was always a kind of old classic to have on there. There is something with those Burton films, I think, at least texturally, that's very, I don't know, nostalgic in a way, but just cool as well. And then I also got to something. Well, I finished off The Wire. I don't know if we really talked about much of that last week.
Did.
Okay, good. And then what was the other thing? Oh yeah. For a podcast recommend. Last week I think it was Blake was talking about Turning the Tables, and I got to watch a couple of those episodes today actually, and kind of woke up. Came out this morning, didn't really have anything new to watch. Through on the Good Kid, Mad City. Actually, one is what I started with. That was just kind of released like a couple days ago, and that was just a really fun watch. That's an album that I've talked about a lot on the podcast and a lot recently, I feel like, where it's something that I know by heart almost. It was kind of like my introduction into hip-hop as well, so that was really cool to see a guy. I don't know, did that make it in the episode last week when we kind of described what was going on with that show yet?
Yeah, it did.
Okay. Well, if new listeners or for folks that can't remember last week, the kind of concept is there's two guys that are sitting and listening. One is the son. He's listened to a lot of music and has kind of some background with it, I would say, but he's introducing his dad, who is some sort of songwriter, musician, to different albums that he has not heard before. And they started with, I think, Radiohead, it seems like, and now they've kind of moved into more hip-hop stuff. And it's just very neat and fun. They're both Canadian, so there's a lot of positivity and kind of good vibes around it. Yeah, and they're just very kind of, very, very, very personable and earnest as well. So it's very fun for me to see an album that I know so well experienced for a first time by a guy that knows what he's talking about and is also kind of approaching it with this just very open and earnest opinions about things. So it was just a really kind of fun, unique experience as well, and I felt myself kind of discovering the album again in some ways too. It was also kind of cool, guys, because they listen to clips of the songs, but it's at actually a pretty high rate too. So it was kind of the first time I'd listened to that album in a long time on like a really good system as well too. So that was pretty nice. So I got to experience a lot of really fun stuff with that as well. But yeah, so really cool little channel. Really thankful for Blake to throw me onto that as well and bringing that up recently. And yeah, that was cool. Well, I had one other thing too. Oh. As a personal favor to Adam Schwartz, I have watched 4 episodes of the new Euphoria season, as well as the 2 bonus episodes from last season.
Okay.
Man, I think I'll probably finish this season out, and then we'll probably have to do a bit of sizzle on this. This here show. No, I do. I want to talk about it because I do have thoughts, and there's certain things about it that I think are interesting, and I'll be very interested to hear kind of your thoughts on it as well too.
Sure.
But I think it'd be a fun show for us to kind of get into a little bit. But
I agree. I agree, especially based on your reaction to those first 4 episodes. So
yeah. But
But
other
you
than that,
you are close to that one where I was like, "Oh my god."
yeah,
It's
for some
kinda
reason I
wild.
thought it was like 12 episodes too, and I just kind of like looked up and I'm like halfway through the
I looked
season
it up
all of a
and
sudden.
I thought it was 10 and then it's only 8. So,
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of an experience. I did it the same way too. It is a very bingeable show. I binged it just like
It
straight
is.
out in like 4 hours too. So
it is.
but yeah, we'll discuss. We'll get into a bits of sizzle on that one at some point. Maybe
All right,
release
all
a
right.
bonus episode or something.
All right, I'm down.
But other than that, yeah, the other big thing was the Batman this week. So with that, I will kick it over to Blake. Actually, sorry, I didn't give you a chance to kind of respond to my own little rant on turning the tables there. But that was such a good experience and just a pleasant time that I had today as well. I was kind of talking before the pod. Really, really nice out today here at the at Back Row headquarters, and just a really good vibe at the start of my day.
Yeah. As I said, one I just kind of came across was maybe 2 weeks ago or so on YouTube. So I introduced that to you and Graham as well. So glad you guys got a kick out of that one. And the second one I watched was actually the Good Kid, Mad City one, which is awesome. And hearing them go over that, it's so cool to always to experience things with somebody for the first time.
Right.
I think that's what makes that page so interesting. Because you see kind of I guess you see and hear, right, the father kind of listening and noting of things of like snares and things of that stuff about production and pitch, as well as just hearing the songs again, just genuinely in order, and like hearing the skits and everything. Like all that album is perfect for that type of stuff.
It brought me back to like those moments of listening to it, and it really made me reconsider kind of and put into context my kind of approach to hip hop as well, where I was just so introduced with that album and its kind of concept as a short film, and me as a film guy and the story guy coming into it that again as well. That was just really, part of I think what made it grab me the first time, and to hear him kind of get to go through it from that music side of things was really interesting. I went through and immediately went to Pimp a Butterfly as well, did both of those and the Yeezus version as well too. So sorry, I will shut up now. I just really enjoyed the channel.
No, dude, I'm with you, bro. You can talk about it all you want because that's a good channel. I end up subbing to them afterwards. I didn't do Yeezus, but I did 808 and Heartbreaks. I did that one the other day on the plane ride here. I actually did the one on what's Whole Lot of Red on Playboy Cardi's album.
Okay, yeah.
I don't really like Playboy Cardi that much, but it was an intro. I was like, let me hear how he feels about this.
I
I
definitely
know that's like really out there.
I definitely had those experiences as well, kind of scrolling through the channel and seeing some of the other stuff he did. Was like, well, that's not even an album I've listened to, but I'd be very interested to hear his kind of opinions on this or something like that as well.
For sure.
And and I catch myself all the time too, especially with kind of those records where I know what's coming. And I'm just like, oh, I can't wait till like he gets to Mortal Man and he hears the end of it or something like that, or these tracks that I know that were so iconic or just like holy crap moments for me too. I find myself experiencing or looking forward to those, but I'm gonna shut up.
No, it's all good, man. But yeah, dude, so I got to that one on the airplane, and that's one. I don't really care for Playboy Cardi that much, but I know that album is very out there. That's like very punk rock rap. It's like the most album you can get like that. Where I like some of Playboy Cardi's like self-titled and some of his older albums from maybe 3-4 years ago, 2018, 2017. So it's really interesting to kind of hear him get his high level music opinion on that and just the mixing on that album and everything. Because there is something to appreciate it because it is art. And like you talk about taking a huge leap on something, you know what I mean? So you can't appreciate it that way. But definitely interesting for him to hear his opinion on that. Outside of that, shout out Waz. I watched Werewolves Within. So I actually watched that on the plane here as well. Because I had a fucking 4.5-hour plane ride to San Diego. And we were delayed for 2 hours at the airport.
Oh boy.
So I watched a lot of stuff. Yeah. I went through that, watched Werewolf Within. Pretty good. I like it. I think Waz had a good recommendation on that. It's one of those I call them they're not really horrors. I guess they are kind of, but they're very like entry level horror. It's kind of like that. What's the one with I can't think of her name, Nathaniel. She's in the shitty GI Joe movie we just watched.
Oh, Ready or Not?
Oh,
Samara
Yes,
Weaving.
thank you. Ready or
Yeah.
Not. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Kind of reminds it's like that genre of horror,
Sure.
right?
Light.
Where you do kind of get some scares, but yeah, very light, very friendly. You can put on in a setting of people, or just something just to watch for a popcorn movie. So got to that pretty good. The premise of that for the listeners is it's basically who and somebody in this house is a werewolf, and they're trying to figure out who did it or who is the werewolf who keeps killing these people. So that was interesting, and that actually stars the AT&T one. And I should probably know her name and pull it up considering I have a laptop.
I think it's
oh yeah, that the spokesperson for AT&T.
Milana Vaintrub, I think is her name.
She also like directs those commercials.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Oh, does she really? That's cool. Yeah.
I remember seeing like a TikTok of hers where she was like, "Oh, we're making a commercial today" or something like that.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, she's one of the main characters in that film. So shout out to her. Watch that. What else did I get to? I watched the Batman, of course, and then I think I'm missing something else. Oh, The Dark Knight. That's what I watched. I watched that yesterday, sitting here in the hotel. So, and that was just because I watched the Batman. I was like, let me at least go ahead and try to rewatch this. I thought of doing the whole trilogy, but
that would have been
just
rough.
settled for the Dark Knight. Yeah, it was the easy answer. Once you see all three sitting there,
Of course, yeah. Which one? I mean, you can't really go wrong, but you can definitely go right.
can't.
You know? Yeah.
Exactly. It's a no-brainer, man. When all three are sitting in front of you, I was like, how can I not?
I always find myself
So
I
watched that.
gotta do the trilogy. I don't know if Tyler's kind of like that too.
I have the 4K.
No,
I don't even know if I've opened it.
I'm saying like when I watch one, I gotta watch all three of them. Like
I
can't just grab the Dark Knight and just throw that on. Like I gotta start
do
from
that.
Batman.
I kind of can. It really kind of depends on what it is. If it's something like Batman, I can pretty much grab whatever I want. Same thing with like Iron Man. But if it's something as like nostalgic as like Lord of the Rings, or like something as like super chronological as like Harry Potter, then it has to be in order.
Harry Potter would be weird to just kind of put on like Order of the Phoenix.
I throw on Prisoner of Azkaban all the time just because it's Quran.
Yeah, maybe. No, the Dark Knight though I could just toss on at any point and I'm cool.
Yeah. So that's one I threw on. So yeah, that's really it. Then outside on the plane ride, just a few other podcasts. Like I said, I listened to Turning the Tables. Been watching some more stuff on that Zoo Tier YouTube page, where that's one of the most interesting pages I've come across in very long. And I don't know, did I send that to you all in the chat, or did I just send the Turning the Tables one?
I think you just sent us Turning the Tables.
Yeah. Okay, I might have sent the Zoo Tier to one of my other buddies. So yeah, maybe I'll plug you guys on that. But yeah, pretty interesting. And obviously, I got to the Batman. I watched that on Friday. Yeah, we'll deep dive into that. So, what'd you get to, Ty?
Well, I'm just gonna kind of keep the theme here. After you sent that in the chat, I actually ended up watching that swimming episode for Mac Miller's album. For Turning the Tables. Yeah. So yeah, I actually started that like at work because it was ridiculously slow, and then I probably got like maybe 15 minutes in, and then that's cool. And then kind of on my way home, and once I got home, I kind of finished the rest of it out. So Mill is definitely one that I vibe with a lot. His music it's just my vibe. You know, I'm a pretty relaxed, chill person, and his lyrics tend to put me in that kind of state. So, he's highly missed on my list of music, but everything that he's come out with, it's so easy to go back to and still just be encapsulated by. So, big fan of Mill. But yeah, other than that, go ahead. Somebody was gonna say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say real quick on that one. When I got back to the hotel today before we jumped on here, I loaded up YouTube as I always do, and I think they just made one on
Circles.
circles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yep.
that's
I'm
that's
definitely
one
gonna
I
check
checked
that
out.
out
And this
too.
is called Turning the Tables, right? When you mentioned it last week, I subscribed to it, but I just want to make sure I can find it again. You said Turning the Tables?
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to check this out because I'm very interested in
I
this.
want them to do Damn so bad now. Like,
Oh.
some
they'll
there's
do it one day.
yeah,
They'll do it one day, man.
there's like the Sun has very similar musical tastes to me this week, or to some of my stuff too. So I'm very interested in kind of what he is, and just I find the dad to be so fun, and it's such a good time.
Yeah, it's
Ty.
very very harmless. It's very feel good. They do a pretty big they got a lot of music that they go on there. So I'll definitely be revisiting that quite a few times depending on what they do. But yeah, super interesting. Like it a lot. Carolee and I finished Inventing Anna. Did I say that last week, or did we finish
You
that
said you
this
started
week?
it.
Well, I knew we were in the middle of it at some
You
point, but
mentioned,
anyway,
it last
yeah,
week.
we finished it. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Definitely a recommend for me. I think she does a phenomenal job. I'm just gonna call her Ruth because I don't know her name. So, but yeah, very very good show, and she does a great job. I got to another episode of Vikings, which is still holding my interest very much. So, still a lot of fun. I just want to
The
see
spin-off,
where.
right?
Yeah, I just want to see. Yeah, sorry, Vikings Valhalla. I just want to see where the story goes. But so far, so good. I like the writing, like the acting, and I like the action so far. So, Leah and I got around to a couple of movies. I guess just like one. We were just kind of like hanging out on the couch, and usually we sit there and like every other couple probably take like 20 minutes to 30 minutes to pick out something. But I was just like, let's check Disney Plus. We haven't checked Disney Plus in a while, and we're obviously pretty big Disney family. So I actually just scrolled through and I found Fault in Our Stars, which is probably one of my favorite, kind of based off a book, romantic comedy, tearjerker kind of movie. And so yeah, that's always a good movie for me. I picked out a total left field just because you got to have those in there sometimes. And again, I just hate scrolling so much. So sometimes it's just, super exciting to just throw something on that you just weren't really expecting to turn on. And that for me this week was Prince of Persia.
Oh, hey, I low key, I have a soft spot for Prince of
Jake
Persia.
Gyllenhaal?
Yeah, doing arguable brown face there. We'll just kind of slide past that one.
Yeah, it's not good, it's not bad. It's just kind of total filler movie.
Oh, I think that, folks, is time for our station identification for the week. You're listening to KYOT, the Coyote, Smooth Jazz. And this week, we're coming BRB, Best Back Row Banter. No, what did I was going to say? Oh, man, I was into it, too. Sorry, guys. Back Row Banter Baja. That was what I came up with earlier for Blake. Sorry, just pulling up now. You guys could talk. We're back on the air here, recording.
No, you're good. I was taking a sip of water anyways. So, and then it kind of seems like we all got a little theme. We're all just kind of watching maybe a little snippet of Batman before we actually get into this movie. So, again, I kind of took mine a little more out of left field, and I actually ended up going with Batman versus Superman.
Dawn of Justice or
Left field? That's like, dude, that's like in the dugout. That's like all the way back in the clubhouse. Like, oh my God. Who's watching that to get in the mood for the Batman? Come on.
Hey, you guys know how I feel about Batfleck, and
true.
there's no better way
Martha
to
Dawn of
to get into
Justice
it than
edition or the theatrical cut?
Dawn of Justice.
The extended version, the one that actually makes sense.
Yep.
All right.
Can you even call it the extended version if it's not as long as the Snyder cut?
Typically, if there's like a movie like that where I have to watch another version for it to be the better version, I'm just always, if I ever bring it up, I'm always talking about the better version.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah. How is that on rewatch? That's one I haven't seen, and I've definitely seen it since its theater because I saw the
Snyder
director's
cut.
cut, but I probably
Yeah.
haven't seen that movie. What, 4
Uh,
years or so?
I don't hate it. It's just still just one of those things where like that's the longest piece of footage essentially, other than the 4 hour long Justice League movie, that I still think Batman vs Superman is better.
It is.
That's
Not
the
by a lot.
longest take that you get of Batfleck because he just didn't get his own individual movie.
Sure.
And yeah, I'm still just a fan. I don't really have a whole lot to knock about that movie. Everybody shits on it, but I just kind of take it for what it is, and I still like it. So suck my ass
Yeah.
if you don't like
The
it.
I
that,
remember the hype around that movie.
the action scene is
kinda
still
over.
good though. I see that come across my YouTube page every once in a while.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It stands up to him. That shit holds up for sure. And
I like the gas scene where he's got the gas kryptonite grenades, and you know, you get the whole
Yeah.
like where he's like beating the shit out of him with his fists, and then the gas kind of wears off, and you can see him starting to like take the punches, and then sooner or later his face just doesn't move, and I'm like, see, dude, that's cool. Like those are cool little things.
Yeah,
So,
I'm with you for sure, bro.
but yeah, that's all I got around to, and then obviously I got around to the Batman. So I think that's all that's left is Schwartzy, right?
Yes, sir. And I don't have too much, so we won't be waiting long to get in this review. Genius episode 3, as we kind of talked about earlier. I think I'll save Mike a lot of my thoughts for I think we're planning on doing a bit of sizzle with that one, me and Nathaniel, and then Ty and Blake, if either of you guys check that out before we end up doing that, you're welcome to join. But really enjoyed it overall. And it's kind of explained why it's shortened down to 3 episodes, because they start at the beginning of his career and it's then only 3 hour-and-a-half episodes. It's like you kind of would have expected more, and they kind of go through that. But overall, like, I really did enjoy it. I've been listening to Kanye's kind of entire catalog this past week or so, kind of just refreshing the ones that I've already heard, and there's some albums that I just have never listened to all the way through. And
Sure.
only heard kind of bits and pieces or popular songs. Because I've said before, I'm not the biggest Kanye fan, so I've never really taken the time to go through and listen to everything. And I'm becoming more of a Kanye fan as I listen. And yeah, really, really good stuff. And I really enjoyed the documentary. And then I think I'll share or save all of my big thoughts, like I said, for our kind of spin-off episode on that. And then the only other thing I got to this week was Attack on Titan. Season 4.
Nice.
Season 4. They came back. So they had season 4. The first half was last year, kind of around the same time, like late spring. I think the last episode was in March or April of last year. And then they restarted the second season. They kind of took a break until then. They restarted the second season, this is going to be the final stretch of new episodes. I think there's only 2 or 3 left in the entire series to come out. But they started those back up late January, and I hadn't watched any of them. I've kind of built up the back catalog so I can binge them a little bit. And so I've started kind of going through those, watched only 2 episodes. But man, even those 2 episodes were awesome, but I know just from the reactions of people who were watching it live, like back when I think it was episode 4 came out, as when like things really just start to go crazy, and it's like starts to just build up to an actual finale for the show. So I'm very excited to keep going with that, because even the first 2 episodes, I was like, this is awesome, and they've done a lot of cool stuff, and I just can't wait to see where this show ends, and then eventually, I will get back to like probably just giving a rewatch all the way through, because this 4th season, Nathaniel and Ty, you guys haven't watched any of the 4th season, right?
Correct. I need to like almost do a rewatch or at least a refresher.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys might want to do that. The dubs are out for the first half of the 4th season, but not the second half yet. So the second half is still sub only.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the 4th season just is a titanic shift in the show. Like it becomes almost a completely different show in some ways. And there's just and the last like 6 or so episodes of the first half of the season, like up until that mid-season break that they did, is like just straight plot. Like there's not a lot of action. there's just so much information getting thrown at you, and I'm doing the sub to keep up, and the sub is very difficult
like
to decipher the
Evangelion
information.
last level,
Yeah,
like pay attention.
almost, yes, almost, yes. So it's like it's hard to kind of understand exactly what they're talking about.
Sure.
And so if I ever do a rewatch, I might try doing the dub to see if they kind of explain a little bit better. I have the general idea, of course, and I feel like I know most of it, but the finite details are a little hard to keep up with. And so I haven't rewatched any of the fourth season coming to this break. So there was like, I was like, what is happening again? Who's who? And then as I was watching, I was like, oh yeah, this happened. This character's this, all this. So I feel good about where I'm at with my understanding of everything.
Spin-off.
Yeah, I can't wait to catch up.
Spin-off news story update. I forgot to mention. All of Funimation is going to Crunchyroll in like 3 or 4 weeks as well too. Little anime
awesome.
Thing for you. No, it
Are they
is
merging?
Yeah, basically Crunchyroll's taking over.
Are they getting like rid of the Funimation app then?
Yeah. Crunchyroll's taking over, which you do get access to their manga collection as well, which has like Attack on Titan on it. Problem is the Crunchyroll app is dog shit and like even worse than the Funimation in how they have it broken down.
Only on the TV though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because from what I remember, at least when I first got into anime, but was trying to like
Stream
binge
it.
a lot more.
Yeah.
I actually got Crunchyroll, and their app on the phone seemed pretty good from what I remember. I never really had any issues with it.
It's not like the interface itself or like that is slow or buggy, but the way that they order the seasons is like it'll be 5 lists of the same season, like let's say Attack on Titan season 3, but then it'll have Attack on Titan season 3 English dub, Attack on Titan season 3 Spanish dub, Attack on Titan season 3 Portuguese dub, and you can't
Terrible.
Because of the way it's set up right now, you only see Attack on Titan season 3. That's all the screen will allow you to see. So you don't know what season you're going into right now, or if it's dub or sub, or what language it's going to be in. You just have to kind of take a guess on where everything is right now. So hopefully that's something that will improve. But yeah, I am excited because a lot of anime is going to be in one place. But B, hope they get some of that fixed on there as well. But yeah, sorry, that just happened this week, and I did want to bring it up.
That's cool. But yeah, I can't wait for this season to finish out. Watching this again, I was in a huge anime phase like last year for about a couple months, and watching this again is like, oh, I'd love to get into another anime. So now that you mentioned Demon Slayer, I do have to watch Mugen Train, which is the movie between season 1 and 2. And
Worth
I'm
it.
probably gonna finish season 2. Yeah. So I'm probably gonna do both of those. And then I've heard Jujutsu Kaisen.
You should
is
definitely
incredible.
You should definitely go in on Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
Watch
so,
the movie.
So that might be
because the movie's a prequel, and then you can just go straight into the series. Yeah.
Ooh, cool. I like that.
Baki's pretty lit too.
And then there's still a bunch of
Baki is fun.
What's the studio called? Studio Ghibli.
Yeah,
right?
Ghibli.
Yes.
Yeah. There's still a ton of those I haven't watched that are on HBO Max, so I really need to go into those. Because
some are really worth it.
Some are.
Yeah.
No, I've heard most of them.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I would say more are than not.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely what I've heard.
Mirai, recommend as well. That Mirai movie and Summer Wars too. We definitely could do those sometimes too.
Summer Wars I've heard a lot of.
But let's
not only just from you.
Let's keep going. We got to talk about the Batman soon, and we're trending long.
That's basically it. The only other thing is to like fall asleep at night, I've been putting on Drive to Survive to kind of prep for season 4 a little bit. Just a little bit.
Falling asleep to some F1 engines.
Yeah, that's all I've been hearing a lot lately, because also Gran Turismo just came out.
Of course.
Noah 2 has been playing it like a lot. Like that's almost all he did Saturday and Sunday was sit in his room playing Gran Turismo. So anytime I'd go to the bathroom, his room's right there. I'd just hear the engines going, and I'd peek my head in and go, hey. Anyway, he wasn't playing Gran Turismo on Friday because we took a little 3-hour trip to the theater to go watch The Batman. Welcome, listeners, to the main review segment of the podcast. Nathaniel, if the listener here is new, or perhaps they've just forgotten, can you give them a rundown of how our review segment works?
Yes, sir. Hello, listeners. If you are new or perhaps you've just forgotten, this is how our main review segment works here on Back Row Banter. It is split into two sections. There is the non-spoiler section, and then there's the spoiler section. So if you haven't got to see the Batman yet, you can still listen to the podcast. Just pay attention to the time codes in the credits or in the podcast description, and make the jump in between there. I got asked to actually call that out more this week, so I'm making that effort on here now. But yeah, get ready for the spoiler sound. But back to what I was talking about earlier. In the non-spoiler part of the podcast, we will go over the IMDb page, kind of everything that we know about the movie, get our first reactions, and then we'll all go around and say if we recommend the movie. That's got to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. From then on, it will be spoiler time. Pay attention for the spoiler sound, and do come back for the rest of the episode afterwards. But in the spoiler section, we'll go into any big plot twists, go deeper into our thoughts on the movie itself. And do come back at the end of the episode, at the review, as I said before, to see where it ranks up on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast ranked. With all that being said, and so eloquently described, Adam, could you tell me about The Batman 2021?
Boy, oh boy, would I love to, Nathaniel. I've been waiting for a long time to do this review, guys. This is a new movie, of course. Took long enough. It was delayed by like a year. It was supposed to come out October 2020 originally, I think. Was that right? Or was
2021.
2021. Yeah. So it was supposed to come out last October. Got COVID delayed. Got an initial COVID delay, and then they shut down production at least once or twice for COVID.
Pattinson got COVID.
What'd you say?
Pattinson got COVID.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Pattinson was one of the people that got COVID while on set filming. So quite a few production issues on that end, but it's here. It's out, and we've seen it. Rated PG-13. A lot of people disappointed. It wasn't rated R. And then
no way it could be.
It could be. Wouldn't mind if it was, but my argument was Dark Knight was also PG-13. Still an incredible movie, so it didn't need to be rated R to do anything for me. And a total runtime of, let me take a deep breath with this, 2 hours and 55 minutes. That's a long one. The longest movie we've reviewed in a while, probably since, Eternals is what, 245?
Want to say that, yeah.
And then No Time to Die was probably the other one.
Yeah, that was up there. We did the Snyder Cut.
We did this. Oh, fuck.
Let me remind you of a little epic that we dabbled in.
Oh, epic's a word. I don't know if I'd describe that.
Epic.
IMDb rating of, drumroll please, 8.5 out of 10.
Wow.
Pretty high.
Which is good. Pretty high for IMDb.
Granted, it just came out, but
maybe
typically that's where you get a majority of your stuff. It's right off the bat.
Yeah, definitely. Directed, of course, by Matt Reeves, as this has sometimes been described as the Matt Reeves Batman. Written by Matt Reeves, Peter Craig. Well, I guess Matt Reeves and Peter Craig. And then Batman created by Bill Finger and Bob Kane.
Good to see Bill Finger on there. A little bit of a throwback to what we were watching a couple weeks ago.
The cast includes Robert Pattinson, a.k.a. Arbats, a.k.a. Robert Pattinson, I think is also what I saw. Robert Pattinson. As Bruce Wayne / Batman. If you didn't know Bruce Wayne was Batman, now you know. Zoe Kravitz plays Selena Kyle, a.k.a. Catwoman. Jeffrey Wright returns to the Entropy list. I guess Robert Pattinson does as well. He plays Lieutenant James Gordon. Not Commissioner James Gordon, Lieutenant James Gordon. And Colin Farrell plays the Penguin. Paul Dano returns. A rare sighting for Paul Dano, but he returns. He it's been a while. So all the way since Prisoners, like episode 8.
Oh yeah, that's true, huh?
Yeah. But he's back as the Riddler. And then John Turturro, is that how am I saying that right?
Turturro
plays Carmine Falcone. Andy Serkis is Alfred. And I'm going to throw in Peter Sarsgaard as District Attorney Gil Coulson. He's in a decent amount, but the main reason I kind of want to shout him out was I was looking at his IMDb. This is not his first DC movie. Do you guys know what his first DC movie was?
That would be 2011's Green Lantern.
Indeed it would be, Nathaniel. Indeed it would be. He was, what's his character's name in that?
Bag of shit.
Well, might as well be Hector Hammond. He
Bag of
plays
shit.
the main villain in the
He's
Green
a
Lantern
he's a
movie.
cloud brain monster.
Yeah.
His
yeah.
brain gets affected by a giant pea cloud, and he turns into.
Oh man. The IMDb summary for the film reads as follows. When the Riddler, a sadistic serial killer, begins murdering key political figures in Gotham, Batman is forced to investigate the city's hidden corruption and question his family's involvement. Woo! Round of applause for that IMDb summary.
That's
I like that
after
one a lot.
after
That's
4 weeks in a row of spoilers or whatever that we had.
I don't think it's that spoilery, honestly.
No, I'm saying it's great after.
Oh, I
the-
see. Okay,
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were saying that's 4 weeks in a row where we had spoilers. And
No,
yes,
no.
breaks that streak. That's top tier. That's S tier IMDb summary. So whoever is creating that list, because it's not me,
Whatever.
put it towards the top.
Whatever Warner Brothers intern, they've got
Yeah.
editing the IMDb page there.
Hey, Warner Brothers, if you're looking for an intern, I am also looking for an intern.
Maybe that's
So hit
Amazon.
me up.
I think IMDb is
Yeah.
owned by Amazon at this point.
Yes, they are. Yeah, they are actually, because Amazon Prime has that feature where you can pull up.
Oh,
Anytime you pause
yeah.
it, it'll
Yeah,
pull
yeah.
up basically IMDb on your screen.
I wonder if the
Anyway,
creator of IMDb got the bag for that. Like, I hope he did.
I hope so as
Great
well.
little tool.
You know who got the bag for his creation? The Wordle guy. Listen to an interview of his today on a podcast. Pretty cool guy. Anyway, back to the Batman. All right, IMDb summary's done here.
Cast is done. Writing is
Yeah.
done. Directing
Jump
is
into
done.
it, fellas.
We can finally go.
Jump into it,
Non spoilers, because I'm sure we're gonna have a lot to say in spoiler talk. But what are our initial impressions? Whoever wants to take it can. I don't want to choose. You guys, whoever's most excited, just go.
I'll let it rip first,
right,
because I
please
feel like I may get cut off because I'm sure this will be an interesting episode. One, I love seeing the detective side of Batman.
Yes.
Always.
So that
Well,
that
DC
was a
stands
high
for
selling thing.
Detective Comics.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know if Batman was
so
the
yeah,
first
that-
one, but yeah.
He was not, but yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was super awesome to see. It's very neo-noir gothic type things. That's like right up my alley. It's like as close as you can get to like a Batman like horror film.
It's
So,
the
like,
best part
this is
about
like-
Batman.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I
And it's-
agreed. It's
and
it's
it's-
very dark.
It's so much
But-
easier to write that part of him.
Mhm.
So it's
Sure,
just
yeah.
it comes out so much more because it's so much more relatable because it's so much easier to write in the comics, and it makes it easier to be able to play out on screen, and it's fun. But sorry, continue.
Yeah. No, for sure. No, I agree, man. So that was awesome. That's long overdue for a portrayal like that to be in a film, opposed to being like in the comics and in the video games and shit like that. The second one is I was telling Nathaniel about it. Paul Dano, man. I'm ready to stand Paul Dano. We need to give him more roles.
Mhm.
We see. I
Mhm.
like the other
Mhm.
gentleman, Nathaniel. If you could remind me his name.
Colin
Who's also
Farrell?
in Prisoners. He plays the other guy with it. No, he's a very distinct face.
Oh.
It's like
David,
David
uh,
David Dastmalchian.
Yeah,
Dastmalchian.
patron saint of the podcast, David.
Right.
David
Yes.
Dastmalchian.
Yeah,
And
so he's
Florence
been on
Pugh.
there a lot too, and he's good as well too. But I feel like we see him more than Paul Dano, and not comparing them by any means. But I feel like Paul Dano should have at least somewhat of that reputability as well, where he can start getting some roles like that too. Because he's long overdue, man. I only know him from Prisoners of this and 12 Years a Slave. I think are the only three scenes.
Oh, you gotta see. You gotta see There Will Be Blood, bro. He and Daniel Day-Lewis are in that, and he's going toe to toe with Day-Lewis, and it is awesome. Yeah, you would definitely.
It's good?
You should. Yeah, you should absolutely check that one out.
I'll add it to the short list of
Okay.
the pod.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with Paul Dano in there. So that's awesome. The next part is going to be Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman is like
yeah,
perfect,
perfect, man.
yeah, she's beyond beautiful too, and she played the role awesome.
Way better
That
than
was. I
Anne
don't think they
Hathaway.
could have found a for sure. And Holly Berry. I don't think they could have found anyone on planet Earth to play Catwoman better than what she just did. To be
Well, what about
completely
Florence
honest
Pugh?
realistically, no, by
All
no
right.
means, right?
All right.
If I'm gonna be 100,
right.
yeah, if I got to keep it real, no way.
I appreciate you the
But
honesty.
yeah, man, she's awesome, dude, in this, and she looks great. The acting's great. She has like the sex appeal for it as well, and like the wits in the film and dialogue and everything. Yeah, it's awesome. Those are my 4 takeaways. Three takeaways. 4.
Whatever it
I
was.
wasn't counting.
The main bulletins.
Right. Those are my key points on the film. The floor is yours.
Tyler, you're
Nathaniel,
freshest. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Go
What's
Tyler,
up?
go, Tyler.
I said you're freshest off this one. I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that you can always kind of look forward to in some of these bigger cinematic movies is going to be your score. So that's definitely something that sticks out to me. I was a little surprised that they kept basically that same kind of theme from Batman vs Superman. It's almost the same dun, 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 whenever Batman shows up.
Okay.
And I only noticed that because I just got done watching Batman vs Superman before this. But that's the only thing I kind of thought was a little odd. I'm like, it's almost identical to that. I wish they would have almost stayed away from that and just kind of constantly played like that the Nirvana song.
I love that Nirvana song.
Either way, it was score was great. It's definitely something that plays a big part into these, especially because you're getting some into more suspenseful moments and you're kind of waiting to actually figure out the mystery. So that's
quick.
Pretty cool. Go ahead.
Music was done by Michael Giacchino, who has done plenty of stuff, a lot of superhero stuff as well. He did the Captain America, the Winter Soldier, The Wolf of Wall Street, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Rocket Man. Like he's done a lot of stuff.
World.
So
yeah, he's a lot of.
Shout out him.
I think did Rogue One too. I want to say he's
I'm trying to look,
but he's kind of considered one of the heir apparents to the John Williams of the world. I think it's Giacchino. I thought I heard it pronounced this week or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So shout out him because he did a phenomenal job.
Facts.
But continue.
Obviously my only concern was, our bats, and I had high hopes. And I know there were a lot of concerns around the interwebs just throughout the making of this. People were like, "Oh, I don't know if he can do it." And I'm like, "Nah, he'll be cool." I was down, and I'm glad that I stuck by that opinion because I think he did an awesome job. So I think that's really great casting by them. I think he does a phenomenal job. Blake, you hit Zoe Kravitz. Like that's one of those castings where you're going to be sitting around for like the next decade and be like, I really don't think anybody could play that role better. That's like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Like that. That's just
great comparison.
Your Chadwick Boseman's as
Sure.
Black Panther. Like you're not going to find somebody that plays that character better.
Yeah.
For a long time. So I think that's probably one of their ones that they weren't, like maybe weren't thinking that she was going to be the best, but I think, a lot of people were just like, yo, that's like one of the best castings. So yeah, I'll stand behind that all day.
Actually, I'll say my thoughts. Continue.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, action was really great. You always get a lot of playing with light in Batman movies because you're trying to be dark and try and bring things that you can obviously still see on screen. So I think they did a really good job with all this. And Paul Dano, fucking creepy as shit. Shout out to you. And yeah, I think those are kind of my main points before we kind of
shout out for being creepy, Paul Dano.
Yeah, because this is a meaty boy. So
it is.
Someone else go.
Nathaniel.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about it now, I suppose. I definitely enjoyed this quite a bit. It's definitely dense. It's definitely a big one. I feel I feel like this is like, in that Dune level now in terms of like prestige pictures or something like that. There are a lot of elements of this movie that I feel like are tailor-made to kind of my generation and my aesthetic tastes, from like the the cinematography, the gothic kind of textures of it. It reminds me a lot of my favorite Batman runs that I've read, a lot of the Grant Morrison stuff from like the 80s, 90s, Batman, Long Halloween, Hush, Dark Victory. A lot of those are definitely present within this, and I think the overall texture of the film itself is really, really a great iconic entry in the Batman kind of filmography as a whole. As the boys have hit on already, the cast on this one's out of the world. I think Jeffrey Wright's Jim Gordon is just immediately the character you need him to be. He immediately has this kind of connection with Batman. He is brilliantly cast as Jim Gordon as well. I thought it was going to be a tough one coming up from Gary Oldman. J.K. Simmons I never thought we got to see enough of, but he just feels so great, so lived in this world already. The Batman itself, the kind of feeling itself, the storylines. There was a lot of talk of this going in that, this was going to be a year 2 Batman in kind of his own journey and his own kind of setup. I myself was a little worried about that. I feel like, after Batman Begins, that's the definitive origin story for Batman. I'm so tired of seeing the Batman origin story done. So I was a little worried about that. Definitely assuaged all my fears with everything there. Definitely a really beautiful movie to look at. We've touched on the cinematography a little bit already. I think there's some really iconic looking shots in this movie, a couple of really great scenes too. Pacing I had a little bit of an issue with. I'll talk about that a little bit more. And just some overall trimming of details I think could really have helped this one in some ways. But overall, great big recommend for me. Honestly, probably my second favorite Batman, right out the gate, I would say, in just terms of, things that I like. I don't know where it'll finally kind of end up on my, critical list of everything. But, yeah, really great take overall, I would say. Definitely, Dark Knight, I think in terms of kind of grittiness is a really good comparison. There's a third act in this that I felt was a little bit kind of like, oh, wow, okay, we're going here. But, overall, really, really fun. Gonna get a big shout out for it being a better Saw movie than Spiral. That'll just kind of set the tone there for anyone maybe in the non-spoiler section. But yeah, I definitely big old recommend, very much enjoyable. Go out and see this one, folks.
Please do. Please do. That's where I will start off mine. I am definitely a recommend here. I'm assuming you guys didn't clarify, but it sounds like recommends all around. This was just short of incredible for me. Like, it's very, very good. There are some issues I do have more towards the pacing and length side of it. And I said last week it's 3 hours, could be more. I don't feel that way. I was really hoping I would. I do have issues with how long it is, and they're assuaged to a degree. Like, it's not a huge issue for me. And to an extent, the good parts of this I do want more because they are fantastic. Nathaniel already hit on the cinematography. I did have to go ahead and look it up. It's Greg Fraser, who we've seen before on Pod, who did Zero Dark 30, Rogue One, did Dune. So he knows what he's doing at this point. Like, he's awesome. I am going to I need to start watching more of what he's done, and I want to continue to watch what he's done because he's awesome. So shout out to him. In addition to the music, I want to give credit where credit's due, because cinematography and music were two of the biggest things that stood out to me, as well as the directing. Matt Reeves did really, really well throughout the movie. The three of those things combined were just close to masterful in this in many regards. Acting was incredible. Like, all around, you go up and down that list: Pattinson, Kravitz, Jeffrey Wright, Colin Farrell, who's unrecognizable, by the way. Like, you would never guess that's Colin Farrell.
That should definitely be shouted out as
Paul
well.
Dano.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the makeup work on Colin Farrell is stunning.
Work's incredible.
It's stunning.
And I'll talk about this a little bit more in spoilers, but Colin Farrell's character perfectly utilized. remind me to talk about that more in spoilers, but I do love how his character's used. Anyway, there's so many great aspects of this. The runtime is probably unfortunately my biggest issue. That like I said, just
I don't have an issue
that
with the runtime as much as there are parts in
sure,
this
maybe I should
movie
clarify that.
where the momentum towards the last third act comes to a
Okay.
screeching halt, and you just
Yes,
go,
there-
"What the hell?"
I was gonna save that for spoilers, but yes, I hit a brick wall
Yeah.
a little before 2/3 into this movie, and I want to talk more about that in spoilers, obviously, so we can kind of pinpoint where
And
the
I
issues
think-
were exactly.
I think some
But
of
be
that
prepared for that.
I think some of that comes just with the danger territory of writing a detective story as well too, in that once you finally kind of reach the unmasking point, it's very difficult to keep your story going after that. And this story being kind of the size and scope that it is, it has some requirements there. So that was a difficult task coming into it
Of course.
anyways. But yeah, I think the length of this movie is not necessarily its detriment. It is some of the way that the action and the story kind of ends overall as well. But I think you were saying that in your kind of review as well. I just, from a storyline, wanted to explain that a little more clearly.
No, that is a better way to put it. It's not necessarily that's a fact that it's 3 hours long that bothers me. It is what's kind of within those 3 hours, especially in the second half of the movie, is more the point. There was another point. Yeah, we talked a little bit. Blake mentioned it, how he's actually a detective in this one, and there's more. This is like the most Batman movie I think there might be. Like through and through, this feels like a perfect blend of what Batman would look like in real life, but also a comic book Batman. Whereas like something like The Dark Knight feels like Batman adapted to real life. This is like a perfect blend of the two, which is ideally kind of where you want to be for a comic book superhero movie. Sometimes you can lean one way or the other, and it can do good things for you. But when this to me is like such a great, well done mix of having something that feels like an adaptation to a comic book character, which is silly in on its surface level, bringing that to life in a way that feels real, but also staying faithful to the comics. This feels so good in that regard. He's actually detective. His
he's cool as hell.
Process for
Batman.
He's cool as hell.
Batman is cool as hell. This movie is
through and
cool
through.
as hell. Like there are certain things that come with Batman that you're always going to find. The kind of darkness, the grittiness, the way it plays with light. And what changes is kind of the how you depict that and your way of characterizing that on screen. And I think they've chosen a very, very cool, unique look overall for this one in general.
Yes. The other one thing I do want to mention that I don't think is that much of a spoiler is Robert Pattinson is more often Batman in this movie than he is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I think that's
which I
definitely
loved, which I think was a great decision.
Yeah, huge thematic choice on this one. Ties very well into the story. We'll definitely talk more about that.
So yeah, speaking of which, I do want to get into spoilers because I do have a lot to say, and I'm sure you guys do as well. So I'm gonna assume it's a recommend all around. I don't think anyone would not recommend this.
Big recommend.
All right.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna go ahead and head into spoiler talk here for the Batman. So if you've not seen it and you do not want it spoiled for you, go ahead, check the episode description where I've left a timestamp you can jump to where you'll skip over the spoilers and you'll be taken to the ranking of the movie up upon the Entropy list, which should be very interesting to see where it lands. Spoilers.
Check that time code, folks.
Check it.
Shit goes down.
Boy, does it.
Yeah. How you want to dive into it, man?
Oh man, yeah. Where do you
Sorry.
start? Where do you start?
I took a handful of trail mix at a very inappropriate time. Give me a second.
Sure.
You're good, bro. Yeah. I mean, Zoe Kravitz, incredible as Catwoman. Didn't get to say that in my little bit beforehand, but she is exactly as you guys said, iconic immediately.
Yeah.
Gonna be a tough one to follow. Great role overall.
I was gonna say something about Kravitz in my non-spoilers. I was only nervous going into this because I think Blake or Ty mentioned it was Tyler who said people were hesitant about her. I was only hesitant about her just because I hadn't seen her act in anything, but I was keeping a
Mhm.
very open mind, and she swung me all the way to the positive side. So
Yeah.
that
She's
that was
also
another
in Mad Max Fury Road though, which a
Yeah,
lot of people forget.
which
yeah, she
She
I
has
is.
like
have only
multiple
seen once
wives in
and
that movie.
don't love.
You're insane.
Sure.
That
Okay.
is one of your
You hate me. I know.
craziest takes.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
anyways,
I
back.
agree. I agree. He is crazy for that, but he's one of the wives. She is one of the wives. Excuse me.
Yeah. Back
Gotcha.
to the Batman. Riddler as a villain, or I would say, to your point earlier, Adam, this is the most Batman movie so far in that he is the central character. It's not a movie where the villain becomes overshadowed the way you get, maybe Batman 89 or the way you get in Dark Knight in some ways. It's not a movie about the store or about the city the way, a Dark Knight Rises is, or it's not the origin story again with your Batman Begins or even some of the other spinoffs. This is Batman through and through, being Batman, what his life's like, and you see that reflected in the writing itself. In that there isn't a Bruce Wayne right now. He is only seeing himself as the Batman. He calls it the Gotham Project. He's got everything right now that he is dedicated to in his daily life as well, and how that plays throughout the story and what effect him only being the Batman has on Gotham as the city overall and on the elements he's trying to influence.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Like the fact that he is just the central character in it, and like I said, the Batman is essentially the central character of this. Not even Bruce Wayne.
Right.
Like it is him, and they make a good point of it where they kind of do that line where he's like, I spend so much time at night. I've essentially become a nocturnal animal. And then later on, when he's talking to Riddler, they kind of hint at it more. He really has become the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is who he kind of feels like he is, and Bruce Wayne is the mask, is essentially what they were getting at before, what the Riddler was kind of getting at, and that's a very interesting place to go with the character that I don't feel like really has gone before, and I really really enjoyed.
Overall, your guys' kind of opinion of it as, I guess, a mystery side of things. It's not really a whodunit. You pretty much know immediately, it's Riddler behind everything, but it's kind of a why, a why action or how does this play out? Batman's very reactive in this story.
Right.
He's young.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I guess kind of like, what are your thoughts there, as well as this kind of reimagining of the Riddler too? Blake, I'm particularly interested in your opinion, being the other horror guy with me here.
Yeah, I like it. It reminds me, as I'm sure anyone who's kind of seen the reviews and stuff, it's very horror thrillerish. It almost kind of plays as the movie Seven.
Seven,
If any of
definitely.
you guys have seen that.
Zodiac
But
too. I got very Fincher vibes. I
okay.
think.
Yeah. Absolutely. I can see how you can pull that there. It's good. I mean, I think those are, especially with referencing Zodiac, right? Because that's obviously something that's based on true events.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Riddler in this is definitely a character you can see like, that could happen in real life, especially with everything and the climate of the world we've seen the past few years when it comes to politics and how people view that stuff and beliefs and disbeliefs and everything in the government. It's definitely something you could be like, yeah, I could definitely agree with something like that. I can see somebody starting an online Discord like that and getting people to show up to a venue and try to do a mass murder or something of that nature, right? Like those are all things is like, I totally see something like that happening.
Well, it kind of
So
did on
I think
January
that was
6th,
spot on.
2021.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
we
but
we won't get
you know
into
what I
that.
mean? Yeah.
That
But the thing is, like, you're like almost right. It's like where the
Mhm,
stuff like that
mhm.
happens, and I think that's what
Yeah.
makes this movie feel so grounded.
Turns out the Riddler was on
Is
Parler
'cause
the whole time.
yeah. And you know what they say? They say that's what makes villains good in movies, right? If the justification for the villain, right? If the motive behind the villain is something that's grounded and like something anybody could be like, well, yeah, that's the wrong idea, but I mean, fuck, I see where he's coming from,
Yeah.
Um, and I think Paul Dano hit that out of the park. So that's kind of my big takeaway where I really appreciated that. Drawbacks, I would say. I guess Nathaniel kind of hit on the head. It might not be the time, but it's the pacing. But to be honest with me,
Yeah.
it's just the fucking time, dude. I've got on here and complained about movies of 2.5 hours plus the past 2 months that we've been watching.
Sure.
Mhm.
And great movie, but then just seeing the runtime at 2:55, I was just like, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, that's fair to an
So
extent, because I do agree with you. Some movies don't really need to be 3 hours, and they are. But I think it can be
mhm,
done, and it can be done well. And this is a movie where I would have been okay with it being 3 hours. It's just, and it's not that it's done super poorly, but
sure,
there's only so much they could do with what they were trying to accomplish in the story. And so I'm
yeah,
very forgiving of that wall that they hit because it was inevitable. I mean, this movie started,
yeah,
and I'm on the edge of my seat, super engaged for about an hour
mhm,
40, an hour 45. Um,
yeah.
and
What
then
was the turning point for you then?
I remember it was when I almost remember the scene. I think when it hit a turning point, it was when Catwoman and Batman meet up at the Bat Signal. I think is
Oh, on the
when.
rooftop?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Where
That's
she's
when
like,
I
"Well,
kind of remember being the
help me
time.
take him down," or something
Yes,
like that.
yeah. That's kind of when I remember it taking a turn, and then
Is that
when
the
Batman.
was that the conversation in which she reveals that she's Falcone's daughter and he kind of has to say sorry?
Yeah,
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
that I think is one of the highlights of the movie to me, for
Oh
me
no,
actually.
sorry. I'm not saying that scene is bad. It's
Oh,
not. And
okay,
the scenes following it aren't. Like that's the thing that I have such a hard time kind of like saying that's a negative and at that like after an hour 45 point.
mm,
Because the scenes after that point between like an hour 45 to about 2:20 when things start ramping up for the climax, that little portion right there is very important for a lot of character development, very important for the story.
Right, for
And
sure.
so and it's it's used purposefully, but there are some things that could have been trimmed. And that scene specifically, it wasn't that I didn't like that scene. That is just when I saw the momentum slowing down.
sure.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I agree that scene was very impactful and everything, but and I did like that scene a lot. Also loved the skyline and color in the background too,
Yeah.
but all of that. Um, so yeah, Nathaniel, do you want to talk a little bit more about your issues with
Yeah,
the
I'll
pacing and
kind of
everything?
piggyback off that, and it's not something because I came out of this film feeling very much kind of like I think where we all kind of were on it, in which there is so much of this that I like, but there were still times where I felt the runtime over it, and
Hmm.
I just couldn't really pinpoint on it, in my own head, kind of as we were saying, where do you cut, where would this be, and everything.
Yeah,
And it was
right.
actually another critic that I really respect and think is really great, Film Crit Hulk, who's on Twitter and
Hmm.
everything, and kind of his review of it is saying it's it is not necessarily the fact that anything would be cut content wise, but he describes it as you see in the movies that the actors are directing the pacing of the scene, in how long they are reacting to things, or how they're coming back with responses, or just the
Hmm.
overall drive of the scene itself. And then he also describes moments is where there's just too many similar visual cues. He brings up the example at the end of the movie itself, where Catwoman takes off on one direction on
Yeah,
the motorcycle and Batman takes off in the other.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then after that,
Right.
you also see Batman look back in the mirror. He's
yeah,
like, you get either one or the other of those. You don't get to have both. And he's just kind
yeah.
of like, there's these moments in which he's trying to relay so much information that he ends up kind of relaying the same thing multiple times in different ways,
Sure.
which it could have just been done either A, visually, or B, with the dialogue. A lot of time he's kind of overlapping both and that sort of thing. So I thought
That's a
that
great
was
point.
a really succinct and kind of probably the correct way of framing that kind of issue over everything
Sure.
in general. And then there are some kind of story beats. Like I said, I referenced the thing that kind of brought me to a screeching halt, which was the Joker inclusion scene in this movie,
Yeah.
where
We
I
want to talk
agree.
about that?
I
Yeah.
hate that. I hate it
yeah,
because, like, I
So
try not to
so
hate.
we
I was
me
gonna
and
say, where are you guys at on that?
all right, me and Noah too. That was one of the first things we talked about coming out of the theater. Which kind of towards the actually after we get out spoilers, I do want to talk. I do want a little story about when we went and saw the movie, but I'll save that for later. Anyway, driving home back from the movie, that was kind of one of the first things we talked about, and that is, let me get his name correct. That's Barry Cogan, who plays.
Also, in the Green Knight.
Yes, he's in the Green Knight, and he's in Eternals. He plays
Druig.
Druig in the Eternals.
I forgot.
I like him.
He's
I
also
don't
in
think
Dunkirk.
I was gonna say
Yes,
he's
and
in
he's in
Dunkirk.
Dunkirk too. Yeah, so he's good.
Oh, he is.
He could be
I just
showing up on the list. He might be getting sneaky up there.
he might be getting he might be sneakily up there actually. Yeah, I like him. I've liked him and everything that he's done. He hasn't really done anything that's like super stood out for me in any way. But I do think he's good. I don't think he's a good Joker at all, and I hope. I mean, it seems like they're planning on using him for the next one.
Disagree.
You disagree? You think?
I think his potential is great.
Sure, I think there could be potential there, and that's one of those actors where you go, okay, maybe not, and then he proves you wrong. Kind of maybe similar to Robert Pattinson when he was initially cast as this, he hadn't really fully come back as like a primary Hollywood star that he kind of did since his casting with Tenet and Good Time. I guess it was probably around the time of his.
It was after Good Time. Good Time was
yes,
what
after
inspired Reeves to cast him. So he actually wrote this with Pattinson in mind, based off Good Time.
Don't feel like Good Time was as popular, so not many people had seen it, and I hadn't really seen it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, you're talking in context of like population, general population.
Yeah.
Film
Essentially,
just like me.
And so hopefully he can be that. That being said, imagine that scene, and it is Joaquin Phoenix in that prison cell.
Yeah, I don't want that scene in the movie, to be honest with you.
Okay, I'm not. Yeah, I agreed.
No,
I could have done without it. But
don't. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, I could have done without it. I agree. If they were to do it, I think that would have been so cool. What like a theater moment that would have been if Joaquin Phoenix is in that prison cell and it turns out his Joker is also in this Batman.
I just
have been fan service.
Yeah, I just think that like if we're gonna start like basically a whole new cast, like just start a whole new cast. So I'm okay with Barry being this version of Joker. I mean, I like one of the most hated Jokers on the face of the planet, so I'll go ahead and back that play. I don't know if I need this scene for anything like this to be effective. I think you can introduce him in a trailer or don't say anything at all until the next one, and everybody just kind of assumes it's probably going to be the Joker, and then kind of show him. I kind of hate they showed his face a little bit. Just leave it as like a full silhouette. I think that's a little bit more powerful. But yeah, I don't hate it, but I definitely don't love it.
I also really did not like his laugh. I didn't think it was good.
Yeah, that was something I thought
really quick. When you mentioned Barry and other roles he's kind of had, you said you didn't have anything that necessarily stood out to you, Adam, between The Green Knight, Dunkirk.
Are you going?
Whatever.
Are you going Sacred Deer?
Eternals. Yes, The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which also has Colin Farrell in it.
I've not seen it.
I think you should watch that, and that's when I first got a appreciation for Barry.
Okay.
Okay. In that
I'll
film,
hold out hope.
I've heard nothing but good things about him in that role in that movie too, and that is what I heard.
Phenomenal,
when I heard that he was going to be Joker, I was like, oh, because of that and everything I've heard about that role, I was like, this could be something big.
Yes.
Well, and then I think
having seen that's the only reason I think I was okay with that. Go ahead, Ty. My bad, bro.
I was just gonna say I actually I think he's one of the more redeemable things about the Eternals. The way he plays that character, and he's so confident in his choice, and he has those powerful beliefs. I mean, that's what Joker's about. Joker is crazy because he has these weird sadistic beliefs that he is like full in on believing. And I think he can play that very well. So I'll actually be very excited to see him in that role.
To kind of finish my thoughts on that thing too, I don't like it in the movie itself because it feels like that studio interference, kind of thing. It feels very mandated, but and it also cleaves a little too close to End of Batman Begins for me as well, where you get the Joker card and that sets up Joker as in the sequel. And so I hope they don't do that. One idea I've heard, which actually was from another podcast I listened to, that I thought would be really interesting, is if in the next one they also don't show Joker in it, but he's just in Arkham the whole time, and then he's kind of orchestrating things from the background, and like you maybe never even see him in like the full makeup. It's just in kind of the Arkham thing, because they seem to be introducing more of the Arkham side of stuff, which I love. I think that's a great direction to go with Batman right now too. So yeah, and then like maybe you culminate in like a third film in which Batman has to run through Arkham, and now all the villains are kind of there, and Joker's running it from the inside or something like that. I think that could end up being very kind of interesting, but I see
fucking Prison Break.
Yeah, I see Adam raising his hand over there to interject. But
yes,
those are just
Adam.
things I could see with this universe that I thought would be interesting to see coming forward, or could redeem this in some ways for me.
Agreed.
Go, Adam. Go.
Yes, sir. Adam in the back.
Thank you. Yeah, Adam Schwartz, Back Row Banter Productions. There is a Batman TV show based off of this movie from Matt Reeves that has one of the headlines of the past week was that it has started to evolve into an Arkham series, where it is just kind of going to be thriller horror based. I don't know if on Arkham Asylum specifically, I would have to guess, or maybe Arkham Island, whatever it is, whatever they end up making it. But there will be a TV show based on it. Who knows what it's actually going to be about? Maybe they focus on the Joker a little bit more, setting up a sequel. Who knows? But that is kind of in the works.
Needed more Alfred.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Said I needed more.
Serkis.
I needed more Alfred.
Andy Serkis, man.
For this.
Yeah, I definitely
like
agree.
him.
Alfred was great. I really liked his take on that, and he's one of the better Alfreds. I mean, Michael Caine is pretty good.
Yeah, Michael
really
Caine's like the ultimate dad Alfred, but
Sure.
particularly in this movie in which you have that emotional beat of Alfred kind of dumping the exposition of, no, you're not actually lost. You know, your dad was a good person. He made mistakes. They went too far. I thought that was a little bit of a weak story turn overall, but for that to work better, I think you needed a little bit better Alfred context earlier in the film.
I definitely agree. One of the highlights of this movie for me, for sure, and I'm very happy we got it. I love Jeffrey Wright as Gordon, and I love the dynamic that they had between him and Batman, where they actually felt like partners. At certain points, it felt like a buddy cop movie, as they were kind of co-detectives on this case.
In my head, all I hear is, "You're a damn good cop, Jim Gordon," from the Harley Quinn series. Every time when Batman he'll occasionally be like, "You're a good cop," I'm like, "You're a damn good cop, Jim Gordon."
Yeah. No, I thought that was just incredible. Really done well. I love how casual they are, like they're almost friends. Like he calls him Chief multiple times.
Yeah.
Like Jeffrey Wright killed it. I loved him so much. And almost everything he does, I think he's a fantastic actor, and I'm so glad he's broken out. Kind of since the first thing I saw him in was Catching Fire. I don't know how much he was in before that. But even since then, he's had a lot of recurring roles, and he's kind of slowly ramped up a little bit. So I think he fits so well. He killed it, and the dynamic he had with Batman was just awesome. That was definitely one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, I love seeing him at the crime scenes and how the rest of the police feel on him. I love the inclusion of the iCam. Because even at story early on in the story, me playing along thing there, seeing how evolved into the detective world Batman is, one of my first things thinking was oh, well, he doesn't have a photographic memory, so how does he get around that? And then boom, iCam. And then you see the moments of him later going over the footage and saying,
Yep.
When I'm in the mask, sometimes I don't remember everything, so it helps to go back and kind of pull all that. I love that we were in Batman's headspace so much in this as well too. Always a risky move to go with a voiceover narration. They can go so poorly as well. I think in a lot of this came out very, very well overall. A little bit clunky every then, but I would always rather have clunky and effective than vague and stupid. So,
yeah. Adding on to that, I think it felt to me at least they took a lot of inspiration. I think from the Arkham games. Both adding into the detective stuff, because there was even that opening scene was just kind of walking around looking at clues. That was very reminiscent of it, where he just kind of sees the blood splatter on the ground. But then he goes back in with that with the eye contact recording device, and then he has to tune in the frequency to Catwoman's, so he can get the signal and everything like that. And then also the fights and the action, which we haven't talked about at all, which is a testament to this movie, the fact that we haven't even really kind of mentioned the fighting or action or anything like that. But also like just the way like that opening scene where it's just 6 guys, they kind of just come at him one by one, and he's just individually taking them down, countering. Gets hit a little bit too, which I did enjoy, where he actually does seem like he gets hit quite a bit and taking some damage. And they do that in like The Dark Knight. Like that's not something completely new, but in this way, it felt a little bit more authentic. And both of those things definitely stood out to me as things like I could identify with by playing the Arkham Batman games, which I really enjoy. I mean, take all the inspiration you can from all previous Batmans to evolve this into what it is. There's another thing I was going to
Fuck, the Batmobile's cool. Waz hates it.
Batmobile's dope.
Batmobile, I'm a big fan of.
That's fine, Waz. That's fine. You can hate it. What you can't deny is that the reveal of the Batmobile was sick. I like my theater was a little disappointing because no one was like cheering or anything like that for some of these scenes, but I almost started like clapping. I was so excited.
My cheeks were clapping, bro.
Yeah, right. I was so
I was
excited.
in Dolby, and that
Oh my
motherfucker
God.
slapped.
I saw this in RPX, which is the Regal, knockoff IMAX, and I would have done anything to go see this in Dolby. Would have done so much. This would have been incredible in Dolby.
If you hate the Batmobile, shut your mouth. It's cool as fuck, bro.
I think he called it the Fast and
Waz said
Furious.
he didn't like the Batmobile?
Yeah, so he called it the Fast and Furious one. I don't want to be slandering Waz here, but he did. I think he enjoyed it overall.
He's crazy for that one, bro.
But he felt it was a little too Fast and Furious for his taste. But I really enjoyed it. That was one thing I loved. The overall thing of the kind of motif of seeing the criminal's point of view of Batman as this fear symbol, and then also having that reflected with the regular citizen there who like he saves but is also terrified of him, and obviously how that culminates in the ending where he becomes the symbol. He realizes he can't just be the symbol of fear for everyone in the city. He's got to also be the symbol of hope too. And I did want to say the last little bit, the kind of like group shooting setting did have me a little bit uncomfortable towards the end. It felt a little too real in some ways.
Sure.
But, in terms of the overall stakes in this, I thought they nailed that, in which you can sometimes get disconnected when Batman's fighting Superman and they're taking out, buildings and city blocks and everything. This felt much more human stakes on everything, which I thought was really, really nice too. And I think I'll stop talking now so that we can finish the episode. But, some beefy thoughts on this one.
I do have two final points. Adding on to that, that last kind of third act bit, I love how the Riddler kind of talks to him in the Arkham scene where he's
incredible
like, oh,
scene.
You can't stop what's which is oh my God.
The Bruce Wayne scene.
Dude.
Holy
what
shit.
An incredible scene. Yeah, holy shit. Also another great scene really quick. When the DA has the bomb strapped around his neck, the tension building in that scene, just everything about that was so well done. Me and my roommate did laugh a little bit how you have little Batman face cam in the top left corner on the FaceTime. That was a little funny, but besides that scene was just incredible. So really loved that. Then I loved where was it going? Third act, yes. When Riddler was like, "Oh, what you can't stop what's coming." He goes back to the apartment. It's revealed he's got these bombs set up and everything. And in most superhero movies, those bombs going off is the plot device that the main superhero has to stop. And they have about 10 seconds where like, oh, that's what's going to happen. He's going to go have to somehow figure out how to a way to stop these 7 fans from going off. And then after 10 seconds, they just cut. It's done. He can't stop it. It's happened already. He was not fast enough to figure it out. Now Gotham is flooding. Like the stakes were high, and he was too slow to get there. And I loved that decision because it's just something unique that you don't see a lot. That would usually be the device that the villain or that the heroes kind of have to stop most of the time, and it just wasn't something he was able to do. And then he kind of evolved into a different kind of thing that he had to save, and different lessons there at the end there, which I enjoyed. Yeah, I think those are my last 2 points. Yeah. There was a third thing.
Really quick, I was going to say, while you were mentioning your favorite scenes, as we always do, just go around. Can everybody would detail their favorite scene or shot, whatever you want to discuss?
For me, it is the Bruce Wayne where Batman thinks that Riddler's figured out that he is Bruce Wayne, and then he slowly comes to the realization that the Riddler has no idea that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and that also the depth of the Riddler's delusion that he thinks Batman is doing this kind of city cleanup and what cleanup represents to everyone, or what it can represent to the masses as well. I thought that scene was just electric overall. Yeah. And I did have one question for you guys. Sorry to kind of spin off of that. I know I said I'd shut up, but
we're good. I mean, we're long on time. I expected that. I know it's late for us recording this, but this talk is giving me a lot of energy, so I'm good if you guys are. But
did you feel it was implied that the reporter that the Riddler is talking about was his father, and that was also part of like what led to his orphaning too? That's
where I thought they were gonna go, but they never really explicitly went there, and I'm not sure if you're supposed to assume that was the case. That's where I thought they were heading was, oh, that reporter your father had killed, that was my dad, like, basically. Sure. But it was, to me, there was nothing beyond me thinking that was the case that really hinted towards it. It would make sense that was the case, and I wish they would have given me, maybe not him saying it overtly, Bruce Wayne had my father killed or something like that. We don't need that overt, but if we had a small detail or two in his apartment that maybe hinted towards it, that might because he's a forensic accountant, and like I could tie that into, I guess, the Riddler idea itself too, but I just thought it needed a little bit stronger connection there, or that point needed to be brought up on why maybe Riddler was why he got started on this particular investigation or investigative idea and that kind of thing. But great bit at the end there. That was my favorite scene by far. Them together, him saying Bruce Wayne, and then their kind of full-on meeting as well. I would say that scene, since you said that scene, I'm just gonna take the funeral scene with the bomb. Ty.
Okay. I'll probably have to go the car chase scene. That was just fucking awesome. Yeah. Between weaving in and out of traffic, cars blowing up and shit, and then him just like emerging from the flames. And I just like how early this is in Batman's career. I think one of my favorite animated Batman movies is Batman Year One. And anytime you kind of get this, like, it's not always perfect. They don't always catch the bad guy. Like, it goes back to like your point with how he was late for all the bombs and everything. Like, he only had like the thing that he was worried about with the bomb blowing up in Alfred's face happened an hour before he even got somebody on the phone.
Yeah.
Like, it just goes to show you that like how real and how hard it is for him in the beginning. And it's not always just, he's the greatest detective in the world and, he solves everything. Like, he has had his struggles throughout the Batman career, and it's cool to always see that. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about this movie. But yeah, I think I'm definitely going to go the car scene for sure.
Cool. Blake?
Yeah, I think the car scene is up there. Great scene. The only thing is I hate watching that scene and seeing the explosion, and he's going to jump over the top from the trailer.
Yeah.
Trailers.
That's the only thing that I hate. I was like, oh, if they would have cut that out of the trailer, that would have been my favorite scene for sure. But outside of that scene's a 9.8 out of 10.
Definitely.
To be honest with you. Outside of that, I thoroughly enjoy this scene where he gives the eye cams to Selena, or the Catwoman, whichever term you want to use.
That was
cool. She has to go into the club within the club. Yeah, and then he's like trying to get her, like, well, you have to like look at them, the face ID. And she's like, no, like, why would I want to do that? Then she has to like fake flirt with people and stuff like that. That's so interesting, and I think she killed that role too, to like have fake conversations with people, and she's like smirking and giving grins of sexual hints and flirting and things of that nature.
Full femme fatale vibes.
Yeah. And that's also when we get the introduction to Falcone. Right, where he greets her, and that's when he's like, oh, I didn't know you had a relation with him. So yeah, I think that scene, like in the long run, I was like, oh, that was a great scene. So
it definitely was. Yeah. I have one final point that I want to talk to before I head out of spoilers. I'll make it quick. But earlier I talked about Colin Farrell, and I love how his character was used. I think it was smart, and I was a little nervous about how many characters we're having. You had Catwoman, you had the Riddler and Penguin, and he serves more as a side character here. And Penguin is like a main Batman villain, and I'm glad I think he was just adequately used in the right amount, and he was never the main focus of the story, which we've seen the Snyder cut. There's an issue with a lot of characters on screen at once, so it's like his story and his characters supplemented the main story very, very well, and I think we got a perfect amount of the Penguin, and I was very happy to see that. So, all right, anyone else have any final points?
Well, just to finish your thought there on, I guess, kind of a response to it as well, I thought he's a great version of the character in which that he's a villain that has to work with Batman at certain points, or like at least be tolerated by Batman because he's a known commodity in some ways. And that's a really interesting character to bring to the screen and have that relationship in which he's not just always like, well, I'm going to kill you, Batman, anytime he sees him or anything like that. So smart choice to bring that on there. And I think I'm done now. I'm sure we'll talk about it more amongst us at other points too.
Yeah, there's so much here. So I the easy way to do that is, I guess, if a listener has a specific thing that they want us to touch on next episode, just write us.
For sure.
Please do.
Just let us know. Because like I said earlier, this is a beefy boy. This is a big movie. So
definitely is.
There's too much to withhold into 2 hours here.
I think that's gonna make its way into the back row lexicon. Beefy boy. I think should be a new entry.
I'm down.
Another stamp.
Yeah, a beefy boy, certified beefy boy.
Beefy boy. Right. That's funny.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it here for the spoiler segment of the podcast. So welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment. We're going to go ahead and rank The Batman up upon the Entropy list. For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of every movie we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all in one fantastic list. This is essentially how we rate our movies, out of 10, out of 5 stars, yada, 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 yada. You can find the Entropy list in the description. Let's see.
You went full end of car radio commercial there at the end. That was impressive.
That was the goal. Thank you. Wow. Anyone having an early idea here as I pull up the list and add it at the bottom?
I know exactly where I'm going.
All right, let her rip.
16.
For a second, I thought you said 63, and I almost died.
No.
16? 16, that would be below Dune and above Judas and the Black Messiah.
I know. Yeah, I feel your vein that you're thinking you saw Spider-Man No Way Home, and then you thought it's above that, and then you went, oh, easy above Judas Black Messiah, and then just saw Dune and went, right there.
Yeah, then I saw Dune and the Green Knight, and then the Green Room. I was like, and in 9 days, I was like, okay, I like
your logic, man.
You know what I mean?
I like your logic.
That's easy for me. What do you guys think?
I think you are pretty much right on the money of where I am. I think looking cohesively, this is probably my favorite, if not the best, of the superhero movies we've reviewed on the podcast. Just looking back so far, I think I'm cool with saying that. So I would put it above No Way Home there. Argument being that No Way Home was more of a phenomenon, or at least it feels so far. So I look at Y Tu Mama Tambien, personally I'd probably throw that one above it, but that's always a big guy there. Dunkirk, that's a hard one for me too, but okay, Requiem, Kill Bill, all those are pretty hard hitters as well. But I think at the end of the day, I'm going to sit down with you. Maybe a risky choice. We'll have to see. This is premiere week as well. We'll see how I feel about it 6 months from now. But, I think I'm comfortable right now going in at 16 with you as well.
Todd, do you have an idea, or do you want me to go?
I'm still trying to contemplate things in my head.
All right. While you contemplate, I'll throw out another idea for you to toss around. I'm close, but I'm going to toss it up there at 15. Above Dune and below the Green Knight. Yeah. I think Dune's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I think Dune, as it stands on this day, March 8th, 2022, without there being Dune Part 2, this is I enjoyed much more.
Okay.
And same cinematographer, so you have those same kind of the shots and everything.
Right,
like
it still looks good.
It still looks
Right.
good. Like, I love Dune. Had a great time with it. Thought it was great. But this is just much more, definitely more approachable for a general audience by far. Much more, I think, rewatchable. Even though it's 3 hours, I think I'd rather sit down for 3 hours and watch this than sit down for 3 hours and watch Dune most of the time. There will be some times where like, okay, I just
can
want to
see
watch
that.
art and I'll put on Dune. And that's,
Yeah.
almost every shot in that movie is a piece of art.
Yeah.
So,
I guess that does
Right.
that
But yeah.
really rests on how Dune 2 comes out.
yes,
Because
again,
I think
that's why I want to say like
Yeah.
that ranking is kind of based on where Dune is at right now without a sequel.
fair enough.
And I think the sequel has a lot of potential, but as it stands right now, I do enjoy this more than Dune. And yeah, I think I'm gonna toss it there at 15.
Man,
All right, Ty.
sheesh. I'm struggling. I kind of want to put it up a little bit higher,
Okay.
but you guys bring up really good points. So I think I'm gonna cap her out.
You could put this higher, and I wouldn't even be that mad.
Yeah,
Me and Blake love the Green Knight. That's why
I
it's
think
so
I'm gonna.
high.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the Green Knight,
Yeah.
but I think like watchability wise and how far this thing is gonna go, because I have a feeling this is just gonna only get better.
Green Knight is also a certified beefy boy. So
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go 13.
13.
Sorry.
So below 9 days and above the Green Room. Do
No, you
have
know what?
some
I'm not sorry.
justification? No, don't be sorry.
I'm
Like
not
I said,
sorry.
Go as high as you want, Ty.
Yeah,
You could
man.
put it at number
Yeah.
1, and I could
stand on
understand.
that. Yeah. And it's still below 9 days, so like I'm fine with that.
I think
Yeah,
Green Room.
I mean,
Yeah, 9 days is just one of those ones that's definitely it's
That
so
would-
deep and it hits home in a lot of different
Mhm.
ways that it's really hard to
Yeah.
just kind of put something
Yeah.
in front of that right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Dune is one of those ones that I kind of struggled with because as a standalone movie right now, I think this is better. But when you start getting, like I told you guys when Dune came out, like when that becomes a trilogy, I think that's gonna have substantial ground to stand on as a
Well, it's gonna be
phenomenal
only 2
trilogy.
films, but yeah.
Well, if it does, you never know. Everybody
No, I
changes
know.
their mind.
I understand.
But
We
yeah,
trust
I
in Denny
think,
V.
huh?
So we trust in Denny V.
We
Yeah,
do. We really do.
always. He's
Always,
never
man.
steered me in the wrong direction.
Right.
Fair enough.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm gonna stand on 13.
Cool.
So that's
Well-
below 9 days,
And above Green Room. So that's a 13, a 15, and 2 16s from the 4 of us. Already did the math. Turns out to be an even 60, which puts it at 15, ladies and gentlemen, below the Green Knight and above Dune. Thanks, Ty. Appreciate it, man. Got me where I needed to be.
Gotta say, I think
good.
I think Green Room might make a nice little pairing with this this one, a little appetizer and main feast.
Yeah.
Just aesthetically, I'm talking texture wise. Like if you had if you had a Saturday
Like color
off
grading.
and you wanted to do a double bill, you could do worse than go from like a Green Room into the Batman in your afternoon flick.
Well, depending on how early you wake up on that day off, Prisoners Batman double feature wouldn't be too bad.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're crazy,
Double
man. That
Paul
was,
Dano double feature.
that was my only
Wake up extra early,
No,
you can
that-
throw in There Will Be Blood. I mean,
right. That
There's
was
no
my
way- there's no
only
way.
drawback of this movie was just like I'll have an incredibly hard time watching this thing at home.
Okay.
yeah,
I can already
yeah.
see it.
This definitely was
I
one of
can
those
already
movies
see it,
where
dude.
I came out like, wow, I would have hated this come out in HBO Max and most people watch it there.
Yeah,
This was
for
such
sure.
a great
Yeah.
theater experience. And like I said before, I really want to see this in Dolby. And I hope I'll get home in time for spring break to maybe catch a screening of this in Dolby. I don't know if they'll probably still be in theaters. I don't know if it'll still be in Dolby. Hopefully it is. So I'd love to go catch a
Might have
screening
a
of that when I
chance,
come
yeah.
home. Yeah, because I do want to see this again as soon as possible and hopefully before it leaves theaters. So
See, I'm
fingers crossed I
excited to
can make
watch
that
this
work.
at home.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I
Like,
don't know
I
if
wa-
this is one I
I-
could put on like a Green Knight just because of how long the Dark Knight. Just 'cause of
Yeah,
how
you
long
guys
it
are
is.
better than I am.
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be a
Yeah,
double feature,
I'm
Green
excited
Knight and
because
then Dark Knight.
it's like raining like 98% of the time in this movie, so you get a nice cloudy, rainy day, and it's still warm enough to have like the window open.
Mhm.
You're in my wheelhouse, dog.
Or it's like raining on like a dark October night. Like, oof,
Yeah.
man. There's a lot of possibilities with this one.
This is gonna be a good Halloween movie.
Great Halloween movie.
I do agree with that though. It's a good October movie.
Oh,
Yeah,
and I
I'll
do
give
have to. I do have to point out one
It'll
more
take
thing.
me 3 days to watch this shit though.
We're non-spoilers, so yeah, we're non-spoilers, just so you know. So point out whatever you want, but
Yeah, it's just more of a costume design thing. I like the
Oh.
fact that they went with more of the Hush route
Yeah.
for the Riddler. And I actually like the fact that they put Hush really like blatantly across the screen during one of his videos, I believe it was. Yeah, so that's kind of like a separate like one-off thing, and it's almost kind of like a reimagining or like a rebirth of the Riddler because he just got shit on so much as the Riddler. But it was really cool to see that costume design, and I was very happy with it. So yeah,
I
sorry.
agree.
My favorite bat costume, by the way. I think this is the
It might be
perfect
mine too.
perfect bat design, especially in the mask.
good.
They finally nailed the mask.
Yeah, I love it.
Sorry.
As I have Dark Knight on in the background, I'm looking at that bat costume. I go, wow, I actually don't like this. As
It
worth-
feels so dated now.
It's
does.
worse than you remember it being.
It
It
is,
really does because
is.
like when you first see that, you're like, man, this is such an upgrade from like
Yeah.
Clooney,
Yeah,
and
it's sick.
and then you get to like where we're at now, and you've had Batfleck's costume, which I thought was fucking awesome, and then you get this, which is so tactical and like homemade,
Mhm.
and he's, again, he's still trying to figure stuff out, and this just looks so fucking cool. And
Love
yeah,
it.
now like the leather helmet, and you can see like the stitching, and yeah, it feels really good.
It's great. Yeah. Really quick. I mean, I know we're running long on time, but I mentioned that story earlier about me walking out of the theater. I have never felt older in my life than walking out of the theater.
Yeah.
And there are like 10, 12, 13-year-old kids like sitting on the curb of the theater waiting for like their parents to get picked up from the movie and everything. And me and Noah looked at each other like, oh my God, we're so old, because I remember being that age going with my dad and my brothers to go see The Dark Knight.
For sure.
And like that was my first Batman movie. And like the fact that I walked out of that theater and like that's that experience for those kids, I was just like, oh my God, they think we're so old, and I feel so old sitting next to them throughout the movie, because there was like some 11-year-olds like next to me, and then walk out of the theater and then like I see them in the bathroom and then they're waiting outside the curtain, like they're everywhere, man. I felt so old. Yeah. I'm sure that only gets worse as I get older too.
Which is crazy because movies nowadays, I feel like, are so much more complex than when we were kids. Like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have understood this movie when I was 13. Are you crazy?
I barely understood The Dark Knight when I was 8.
I didn't understand the Dark Knight.
I was like,
the first time I
good
saw
thing
it.
is, those fellas, is that you don't have to understand this movie because it's
As a
fucking
kid?
bad movie.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why it's gonna have crazy gross revenue. That's why it's gonna have so many people watching it. People are gonna fucking talk about it forever. This is
Yeah.
a Batman movie. So
Great point.
I wish we would have gotten this dark of a Batman when we were kids.
Well, we have it
Yeah.
now. Just be
instead,
thankful.
we got Christopher Nolan. So
Read
Hey,
Grant
that's not
Morrison
bad.
Batman.
All right.
yeah.
let's
Really
let's,
quick though.
yeah.
we can close out. We can close out. But just you talking about 12-year-olds just brought up the age-old question. I don't know if we've talked about it on here before, but have you guys ever seen like the meme on the internet of like how many like 12-year-olds could you beat up if they came in waves?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Are they 12-year-olds?
Just
It's
curious.
generally like, isn't it like supposed to be like 6-year-olds or something like that, or toddlers?
Oh, I don't know.
I feel
I
like
feel like it wouldn't take that many
guess.
12-year-olds to take me down.
Yeah,
No,
I was
it
gonna
would
say.
work.
These days?
That's what I'm saying, man. I think I'm with you too, dude.
My
I think I'm down with
cardio's
one wave.
cardio's
One
failing
wave.
me after
I
one,
feel like
bro.
it could be like 5 or 6.
Although
would be my
if I have the
max.
Pattinson
Yeah.
bat suit, maybe I got a chance here. I got a little bit.
True.
Give me that
True.
in a baseball
Yeah.
bat, and just at least I'll
Sure,
put some
sure,
waves
sure.
in.
Grappling hooks through thighs of 12-year-olds, just swinging them around.
And then just like a bolo.
Okay. Also, really quick, I know we keep going on, and this kind of goes back to favorite scene, but it's more of my favorite
Is
shot.
this a
There's lot of great shots in this movie.
non-spoiler one?
It's not spoilers because it's in the trailer.
Okay.
When he's walking down the hall and there's muzzle flashes.
Yes,
And you
that
just
was
see it
nice.
Oh, sure.
moment by moment, and in the muzzle flash only.
Oh,
The
yeah,
fact
yeah,
that Ben Reeves has come out and said that was done practically. That was one of those scenes as well, along with the Batmobile, where I was like, oh my God, like almost jumping out of my seat just because like that shot was so awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the last thing I had to say. That's it for the review segment here. It took us long enough. Next topic, really taking a bit of a left turn here. We're gonna be watching West Side Story, the 2021
Or will
version
it
from
be?
Spielberg. um, that is currently streaming on HBO Max, so you can go watch it there. Kind of ramping up our Oscar slate
Sure.
viewing, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that's
What did we
nominated for
settle
Best
on
Picture,
last
so we'll
week?
be watching that
Oscar
next week.
class.
Yeah. Let's see. 5-star review, Nathaniel. We'll get
We'll skip
let's
that
not
this
bother.
week.
Yeah, if you want to leave a 5-star review, you can get it read on pod, even if it's negative. Whatever, 5 stars. Just make sure it's 5 stars. Share the podcast. Share with a friend, family member. Your friendly neighborhood Batman who's helping people in the flooded city. I don't know. I'm trying to go fast here.
Or
Nathaniel,
Spider-Man.
you got anything? Or Spider-Man, yeah, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Maybe they team up one day and then they can spread the word of the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod. On YouTube, it's just Back Row Banter, and then our email is backrobanterpod@gmail.com for any questions, comments, concerns, grievances, anything of that sort. BlakeHolder, where can the people find you at, my man?
Letterboxd, BlakeHolder. I'll be in there logging some things. Yeah, keep it sweet and short. I'm tired, fellas. So BlakeHolder, find me on Letterboxd. I'll be on there logging things and letting you know what I like and dislike. Nathaniel.
You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at @nsgangrick. You can find me on Instagram at NathanielG92. Tyler.
Twitch.tv/Ultrabajo and Instagram, Letterboxd, and Twitter, all Tyler Vidalis, VIDALES.
You can find me on Twitter at Aish24, where I'm still posting my Wordles. I might slow down on my Wordle posting. I don't feel like it's not a thing to post it daily anymore, and so I'll just send it to Nathaniel, and we can talk about it every day. Find me on Letterboxd at Aish, and on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/Aish, where I've been streaming a decent amount. I don't know how much I'll be live the rest of this week, but I'm still playing some Halo. Got top 32 in the free-for-all tournament yesterday, so that was fun. But yeah, find me there. I think that's it, guys. Thank you all for listening, especially if you made it this far, especially on this episode, as the current runtime I have on my clock is 2 hours and 16 minutes about. So if you're still listening at this point, congrats. Thank you. We appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed the movie, and because we did as well. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Join us next week for our review of West Side Story. We'll be RB.
This episode is certified beefy boy. Be excellent to each other, and we will be RB.
Thanks, Jeremiah. And yeah, just be kind to one another, and we'll catch you on the next one, and we'll be RB.
Thanks for listening. Appreciate the support as always. As I said last time, March is Women's History Month. Please stream something created by a woman, filmed by a woman, anything of that nature. We'll be RB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
Yeah.
I'm
What up,
chilling,
fellas?
bro.
My bad for dragging.
No, you're good, dude.
You're good, dude. It was Nathaniel's fault this time.
Hey, what the fuck?
It's all right. We can't.
Blake
always
was
be
having
perfect.
audio issues.
I was. I certainly was. Hey, there's actually a fucking theater right next to this hotel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Should
I
go
was
catch the
close to
screening.
going to it. I'm in Mexicali. It's like a
Mexicali,
little
is that
bit
what you
east
just
of like
San Diego,
yeah,
right?
it's like a little east of Tijuana. It's like right it's
Okay.
it's on the border of
Yeah.
obviously Mexico and California.
Border
Gotcha.
And funny enough, we went to a Medline plant. We passed an LG plant. So
Huh.
obviously people just make things here, manufacture things here for like super low cost. You know what I mean? It's kind of
For
sad
sure.
to see. It's definitely like labor exploitation. But,
Yeah.
Yeah. Past an LG plant. They might be making OLEDs in that bitch, fellas.
I think they probably
You'd
are.
love to see it.
It's got to be. I think I can damn near see it from here. But yeah, there's the theater, and so I looked at like what can I watch in here tomorrow. but the only thing they're showing in English is Batman. There's nothing else being shown in English.
That's
So they had
very funny.
Uncharted. There was what's the movie out right now? Is it Moon Knight?
Moonfall.
Something like that.
Moonfall.
Yeah, that one's in Spanish, which I've heard is like actually pretty good.
Oh, I've heard terrible things.
But yeah, can't watch it, fellas. So
Or you could just watch in Spanish. It'd be kind of funny to see Uncharted Spanish. I want to know what.
just for the fun of it,
It might be better. It might be better.
I want to know what Mexican Mark Wahlberg sounds like.
I wonder if he still has a Boston accent.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
He better.
Funny enough, we went to 8 with me and my boss and Marissa, who's my coworker. We went to eat at a Chinese place. Funny enough, I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to go to a Chinese place. And it was really weird, but then it hit me like, why would we go there and the Chinese people not be able to speak Spanish? Like, you don't go to a Chinese place in the fucking United States and they can't speak English.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was
That's
like really
funny.
weird, like trying to order, and like if you could either order in Chinese, I would assume that's their second language or first language, but they didn't understand English, like they were speaking in Spanish.
That's funny.
And I was like, yeah, it was weird. That was weird, but
I mean,
it
makes
hit me,
sense.
like,
It makes
it
complete sense.
It's always funny.
for sure. Yeah,
It's always funny too when you like think of like athletes on the world stage or something like that too, and like the entire France rugby team's like all black too, or like you have a lot of great fighters.
Sure.
You have a lot of great fighters out of like the Dutch Netherlands area that are all black too, and you're just like, what's happening here? There's some other stuff
Yeah.
going on. You just hear their accents.
Yeah, that was goofy though, dude. I seen it, and I was like, well, of course he can speak Spanish. Look where we are.